everybody, welcome to Frame Trap. This is a show where we talk about video games and whatever other things we're feeling. Most of the time it's video games. Joining me to my right is the ever-cool Bradley Ellis.
Hello.
And the excited post-Super Bowl Michael Huber.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, so that's actually how I want to get started. I am, believe it or not, in case you don't know me very well, I'm not a big football fan.
What? You're from Iowa, though.
I'm not a, yeah.
Isn't that in your DNA?
Yeah, I had to put up with a lot of football.
Okay.
I don't have anything against football. I think when you say, like, oh, hey, I'm not into football, like, people assume that you hate it. You hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah. It's just like, you encounter some things in life that you're just not interested in.
I'm the same way, dude.
Yeah. Just whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm the same way.
If people want to go and watch football, that's great. I'm going to go play games or watch a show or something.
You're not allowed to enjoy something that I don't.
Right. Live and let live. But I know not all of the allies feel that way. And, like, I kind of want to live vicariously through you, Michael Huber, because the way that you were talking, you were hyping up a game that we're going to get into later in the show.
Yeah.
That's why you called me. But you were also talking about the Super Bowl.
For Don.
I
had no horse in the race. The Rams just came back to Los Angeles. So, like, I kind of watched them this year. They were doing really well this year, too, so that obviously helps. But I'm not super into football.
Right.
I'm a baseball guy, Dodgers.
You like basketball a lot, too, right?
Or
you used to, at least.
I
when the Lakers dynasty.
Exactly. So I like all sports, but I really only love baseball.
Okay.
But the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl, so I just,
It's an event.
Went down, saw my family, hung out with my grandpa. My grandpa has a bookie, so he always, like, places bets on the games, so it's always really fun. Like, my whole life growing up, I'm always just like...
Maybe that's where the bet addiction came from.
Yep.
Tell me...
Low stakes, mind you, with my grandpa. He bets, like, $20.
Okay.
Like, he had $20 on the game. Not some, like, letting it ride on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, no.
But... You mentioned Don, and we were all kind of wanted the Eagles to win for Don because he would talk about the Eagles and his face would kind of like light up with a smile, and so it's like, how could you let that smile down? You got to make Don happy.
Yeah.
What was it like watching this year? Having that Don X factor, and just what was the game like in general?
It was intense.
Okay.
This game was back and forth the whole time. It was close the whole time. It was like a shootout, too. There were a lot of points. It was just constant action, constant excitement. And it came down to the very end. It came down to the last play. So
cool.
Can't really ask for more from
Great game, then,
from
probably.
a Super Bowl, yeah. So and the Eagles won, so Don's
ecstatic.
Excited.
Did you message Don after the Eagles won?
No.
Let him
breathe. Give him a
day. Let him soak it up.
You give him a night.
Okay, so you kind of let him have his moment.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see him soon.
Yeah, I'll see him like tomorrow or something.
I hope he comes in just decked out with Eagles gear, like a beanie that says like Super Bowl champs on it or something.
Yeah.
This is Don's year.
Yep.
2018.
Yeah. So I'm just happy he won. I was getting ready to be full on depression with him because the Dodgers lost in Game 7 of the World Series, which
heartbreaking.
Is hard. You can't really get more brutal than that,
On a lighter note, the last 5 years, I've become increasingly obsessed with Saturday Night Live, and I whenever I need a break from anything, I will just pull up a random batch of SNL skits.
Yep.
And I really enjoy it. I've gotten super into it. As a huge baseball fan, have you seen Will Ferrell's Harry Carey sketch?
Legendary. Okay. I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, but even I like some of his SNL stuff.
Oh my God. That Harry Carey stuff is brilliant.
Too good.
Oh my God.
Too good.
Yeah, the one with Linda Ham, and he's talking about taking her to Mars, and he asked her if her name makes her hungry. It's a brilliant sketch. It's on YouTube. They just, I think, republished it.
Nice. I've seen it in a while.
Good. We, there's sometimes I come to Frame Trap, and it's like, okay, we have a lot of games to talk about. I'm not sure how they're going to go over. Sometimes I come to Frame Trap, and it's like, we don't have a lot of games, but I think they're all killers. We have a list. We have a list that is all over the place.
Mixed bag.
You know what? We were going to get started talking about games, but you just did a bad thing.
Oh, no.
Do you know what you did?
I triggered the frame trap.
What do you think you said that triggered the frame trap?
Mixed bag?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
The demons don't like that phrase. Damn. Yep, unfortunately.
Whatever.
Yep.
Screw them.
I know. Screw the demons.
We're breaking out.
Screw the demons. They're awful people. All right. So, Audible, calling an audible here. We were going to go right into the game discussion. And normally this comes afterwards as a way to break up the podcast. But we're launching right into it right now.
Let's go.
Caught in a Frame Trap. This is a little
Break
game
out.
that we play where we get to talk about our sponsors and have a little bit of fun with a quiz. And I like today's. We'll see how it goes. Let me just write
Love
down
the
mixed
quizzes,
bag.
man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so to give you guys a sneak preview before we get into the sponsors.
Sneak peek.
Today, the quiz is which Game Trailers employee reviewed this game?
Oh, man.
I did not include
That's so
reviews by Huber or Brad for obvious reasons, but you're going to have to tell me which of your coworkers...
I don't know everyone, I don't know a lot of the people
You
guys
are
knew.
yeah.
Okay, I'll do
Huber
my
and I have
best.
been around for
I'll
a
do my
while
best.
longer, and that you are at a disadvantage, but...
I never met the greats.
The demons are
like
awful
Justin
people.
Sphear.
I tried to include everybody that you knew or worked with. That's so I don't have well, that's not entirely true. It's mostly true.
Sometimes the frame trap is unfair and you gotta do the best you
You
can.
gotta do the best. Sometimes the odds
Demons
are
are not nice.
But to help us out with this frame trap, to buy us some time, we do have some lovely sponsors. We've got some new sponsors. We've got updated copy for some sponsors. Everything's coming up good. Our first sponsor is Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering. Great dude. He's been playing Patron D&D, and
nice.
he's been doing some really smart things in Patron D&D. He's he reminds me a lot of like Nicator Therese, where has to apply logic and reason to a party that has a lot of fun, not always being logical and reasonable.
Yes.
And you need that. You need that in a group for it to work.
Well.
Or you don't. I don't know.
Not so easy anymore.
Yeah. Bird cough. Our next sponsor
Hi.
is Nate Kiellach, known on Twitch as Smoalgate, and Nate has something that he would like to say. Nate would like to thank the Allies for over 12 years of good vibes and being his go-to source for game content between Easy Allies and the early years of game trailers. The sense of genuineness and passion of the industry, for the industry, and art of games is a huge in what's kept him and others entertained for so long. The inviting and jolly vibes of Easy A streams are something truly special, with Kyle's Mega Man Legends streams, Brandon's Telltale Batman streams, and Ben's Thousand Year Door streams in particular, all being small but not insignificant sources of good vibes that helped make a few tough times just a little bit easier. Keep growing and don't ever change. Something that's always weird for me with Easy Allies is the sensation that I get. I don't know if you guys get it, where there's a bunch of things going on that like I just don't watch because either I want to go spend time with loved ones or like I have other things that I'm doing. But it's always nice knowing like, oh man, like Brad is working on platinuming Final Fantasy VII. It's like nice
Someone's
knowing
holding it down.
Yeah, someone's holding it down. Exactly.
We got bizarre goals.
Exactly. Our next sponsor is Zen Market. Zen Market is a Japanese shopping proxy service, which means that for only 300 yen per item, that's less than $3, you can buy games, anime, merch, and more directly from Japanese online stores. You can even bid in real time on Yahoo Auctions if you're looking for rare or used items. Plus, it's easy to buy things from multiple stores and consolidate them for free into one box before you ship them home. Sign up today and get a 300 yen bonus you can use towards your first purchase. It's easy to manage everything from shopping to shipping right from your account on Zen Market's website. Don't pay more than you have to for that sweet Japanese booty. And helpful staff are always waiting to guide you on your journey should you need assistance. Find Zen Market on social media or just go to zenmarket.jp and check it out for yourself. I actually have something arriving from Zen Market.
Oh,
trying it out. Yeah.
What's you get?
Well, we'll just have to see.
Oh, man.
See. Keep an
It'll probably be when I'm not on, dude, so I'll never know.
I'll tell you after the show. It is what you would expect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anime.
Yeah, Persona plushie.
No,
Yeah,
it's a
plushie.
game. It's a game.
Oh, okay.
It's a 3DS game.
Oh.
Radiant
That you can't get over
Historia.
here. No, that is.
Was it a good guess, man?
It was a good guess.
Remember
yeah.
Radiata Stories? That
Yeah,
PS2 game I had?
totally.
Yeah.
So cool.
Our next sponsor is Taker34.
Had good colors. Sorry, man.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Good colors. February 5th marks the first time ever of the legendary and award-winning user Taker34 becoming an official sponsor for one of the most influential and highly acclaimed podcasts in the game industry, Frame Trap. Taker34 stands for one-of-a-kind talent, unique experiences, and unprecedented creativity. Follow at Taker34X on Twitter for more content.
Taker. WrestleMania 34. Taker 34.
The X just made me think of Mega Man X. Okay. So I was like, yeah.
The wrestling stuff is over my head.
It's all right. We'll get you in one day.
Our last sponsor, certainly not least, is 2 Hours to Live. It's an interactive story for those who enjoy reading. The object of the story is to keep Jay O'Connor alive by guessing his next move correctly.
Oh.
Seems like something you'd be interested in.
Yeah.
If you answer the questions correctly, you keep Jay on track with the time in the story. If you guess incorrectly, you will cause time to be subtracted from his life.
Whoa.
Be careful, though. Get too many questions wrong, the character will die, and the story ends. Your job, reader, if you choose to accept it, is to get Jay to the end of the story and reveal a not-so-expected ending. Check out 2 Hours to Live and other works at kg2entertainment.com. Thank you so much, sponsors, for your support. Now it is time for the game. So, this is going to be multiple choice. You don't have your own set, unfortunately, this time. It's
okay.
Just the same set that you're sharing. So, because of that, please wait until the name of the game being reviewed is said. I will tell you the score, and I will give you a blurb from OpenCritic. I pulled all of this from OpenCritic.
Okay.
Then I will give you 3 options. After you've heard all 3 options, the first to whisper HOTTAKE answers. If you get it wrong, the other person gets to answer.
Got it.
Everything clear?
Yes.
Clear.
All right. The first option, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse on Wii U. We gave this game a 7.5 at Game Trailers. The blurb, it may not be Kirby's most triumphant outing, but Rainbow Curse is still an entertaining ride. The abundance of ideas and charming look trump the few but severe shortcomings. Once again, Kirby does something a little different, and we're certainly glad he did. Who wrote this review? Was it A, Michael Damiani, B, Daniel Bloodworth, or C, Ben Moore? Huber.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Incorrect. Brad.
Michael Damiani.
Both incorrect.
Oh, it was you?
No points on the board. Ben Moore.
I thought it was Bloodworth too. I thought it was Bloodworth.
I'm gonna mark down a point for myself. No, not really. But no, you both got it wrong.
You reviewed that, man?
I reviewed it.
Yeah, I was like, does that seem like a Ben joint? That seems like such a Blood or Damiani thing.
Curveball out the gate.
Yeah.
I was convinced it was Bloodworth.
Me too, dude. I was like, ah.
Like, I remember Bloodworth using the stylus.
Yeah.
Tracing lines.
Creating your own reality.
Yeah.
Living in it.
That is exactly what just happened.
The next game, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which at Game Trailers we gave an 8.5. Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Here's the blurb. Perhaps where The Vanishing of Ethan Carter succeeds most, it is establishing a sense of place. This is the kind of game that you'll want to get lost in. Was that A, Daniel Bloodworth, B, Ryan Stevens, or C, Elise Willems? It was close. I'm going to give it to Huber. I think I heard his voice first.
Daniel Bloodworth.
That's correct.
Yep. Yes. Such an easy Blood joint.
Yeah. Paul loves those walking simulators.
Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
Whoa.
Got some pent-up anger right there.
Yep.
Game number 3.
Blood really does, though. I think he's reviewed, like, all those. What was the other one? With
his wheelhouse.
Austin, when are you centering?
Oh, everyone's gone Rapture?
Yeah.
Third game, Costume Quest 2, which we gave 7.2.
I didn't play it.
Whether you can handle the grind or not, Costume Quest 2 is a shallow game. It's also a celebration of this sacred holiday that you may find yourself replaying next year. Was that A, Elise Willems, B, Matthew Blair, or C, Brandon Jones? Bradley Ellis.
Brandon Jones?
Correct.
Yes.
Brad's on the board.
Nice. I was going to say Blair. Some random Blair review.
I feel like if it's a sports game, that's a Blair joint.
Yep. If it's hockey.
Yeah.
If
it's
NHL
hockey,
is there.
hockey on there, it's Matt Blair. Don't even bother asking it.
Yep.
The next game is Little Big Planet 3, which we gave a 9.2 at Game Trailers.
9.2? Whoa. Okay.
The legacy of Little Big Planet lives on, serving as a bold statement that platforming doesn't need to be punishingly difficult or controversial to be fun or groundbreaking. Was that A, Ben Moore, B, Michael Damiani, or C, Matthew Blair? Huber.
That one's Blair.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Okay. 2 for Huber. Brad, you could tie it up right here. Final question. The most recent Mad Max game, which we gave a 7.4. I think Huber's already locked in on this.
Beautiful score for that game.
Mad Max doesn't break a new mold for open world games or feel like an epic cinematic experience, but it's nowhere near being a cheap movie tie-in either. Is that A, Brandon Jones, B, Daniel Bloodworth, or C, Ben Moore? Brad.
Brandon Jones.
Nope.
Oh, is it Bloodworth?
Yep.
Oh, it's Bloodworth.
Huber takes it.
It was an open world game. I thought it'd be Brandon.
I know. Because I remember this so vividly. Jones wanted to review it, but had something else and was so bummed. And then I remember this story so clearly. Blood told the same. It's like one of those times when Blood told the same story 3 times. one or two of the times was to me, and then another time was to someone like right next to me. So I heard it like a bunch of times.
Ben,
Yeah.
or Elise.
He was like, yeah, I drove out to the sand dunes, and there was this big hole in the ground, and it just felt like it was part of the world, and I went down in that hole and like killed some dudes and got some gas. It's a Bloodworth story.
When I was making this list, I tried to pick games that have kind of been forgotten about or just weren't big tent poles for us as game trailers, but I should have known, like, you were on the Mad Max train.
Dude,
Yeah.
that sounds like
forgot how
such
hard
like
you were
like
on it.
just a basic moment in that game. Like, is that really story worthy? That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Blood loved how you would just come up to seemingly random places on the map, and it would turn into like a huge underground like
Sure.
Oh, is this post Witcher 3?
Mad Max?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Was it?
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know.
All right.
Do you know
It was
what
fun, though.
Do you know what I know? And in fact, I'm gonna make it a case here to plead with you guys.
A silver case?
No, but that does need to be talked about. No, I want to make a case for Celeste.
Nice.
Make the case.
So I finished Celeste.
10 out of 10?
It is really good.
5 stars?
I'm not ready to commit myself to a score rating, but I would give it a high score. I would give it a high score. Maybe 5 stars. Not
Okay.
out of the realm of possibility.
Jeez.
For how much I like this game. And what I want to say about Celeste, it is easy, I think, to be reductive about games like this and say, oh, it's like this or it's comparable to this. And you can certainly make those comparisons. I will be making comparisons to Super Meat Boy that I think are accurate. But every so often there's a game, a smaller game that comes out and gets a lot of critical attention and people really like it. I find personally my experiences with those games are either like I'm completely on board with everything you're saying or I don't think it quite lives up to its billing. Celeste exceeded my expectation. It exceeded all of the hype. It was getting 10s everywhere, but it didn't start out that way. The first few levels that I was playing Celeste, it is a very charming, quirky game where it's pretty fundamentally easy to understand. You can dash, and that feels really good. You dash, you climb. Very early on, you get on these platforms that can launch you into the air depending on when you jump because of the moving platform's momentum. And it's like, okay, this is what I expect. I'm meeting a dude who really likes taking selfies, and this girl is going on this journey to climb this mountain. And it was very easy to get into a mindset where it's like, okay, I understand what this is. Celeste is brilliant because of how much it evolves in a short period of time. This is like a 5-hour game. I mean, if you are trying to get everything and you're really meticulous about it, obviously you can spend a lot more time in it than that. But if you're just trying to get through the story, I would estimate about 5 hours.
It's on all systems?
It's just on Switch right now, I believe. Yeah. And Celeste, we talk a lot about pacing, and I think pacing is an overused term, but it feels really applicable here because every single level, the way that it builds, how quickly it introduces mechanics, is just like magical. Like, in one stage, you'll kind of get comfortable with something, and it will introduce it in a way where it's always challenging. Celeste is a game where you will die a lot. I think by the time I finished it, I died like over 1,000 times. But in a game like Super Meat Boy, right, you probably die just as many times.
Yeah, is it like
when you're
really
going
quick
through.
like that?
Exactly.
Die,
so when you die, you're
yeah.
back. When you die, you're back. When you die, you're back. And the game actually takes a really interesting positive spin on this constant dying, where it will always let you know, like, hey, man, you've died a lot, but it never rubs it in its face. In fact, there are, like, messages that you read where it goes, hey, the more you die, the more you should be proud. Like, this is a learning experience. And it really tries to frame itself that way, where it's like, hey, this is going to be tough, but you can get through it. If you need to take a break, that's fine. Like, it just has this kind of welcoming vibe, and that plays into the story. And I do not want to ruin the story for anybody, because I think uncovering it I was not expecting this game to hit me emotionally the way that it did. This is a game about personal growth, and I think if you are somebody who's struggled with that, acknowledging that, your own like insecurities and faults, the way this game explores it is done really well. It's very inventive in this crazy fictional setting where you have like this ghost hotel as well. That's really fun. I know you like ghost houses. I think you will enjoy.
Ghost Final Fantasy VII Ghost Hotel?
No, not quite. But I think you will enjoy this spooky hotel. Let me say. And that's really the number one thing that I want to say about it. That it's really just like sanded down to its best point is, hey, we're going to make sure that everything you're doing builds on top of each other. We're going to mix things up constantly, and the way they mix things up is amazing. Like, you're doing the platform thing with the momentum where it will launch you, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Now I'm going to get in these orbs that shoot me across the screen. Oh, now I'm going to get this feather where I fly all around. Like, what you're doing, just moving through the environment, they're constantly changing that up and making it super exciting. And, like, the difficulty is kind of finely tuned in such a way where getting through just the story, getting through the things you have to get through, it'll be a gauntlet. Like, you'll get through a chapter and be like, oh, man, I really accomplished something. They are always teasing you with these optional collectibles, these strawberries, that are significantly more difficult than what you get through, but they're presented where it's like, okay, I feel like I've been going in a good rhythm. I'm going to go get this strawberry and feel great about it. Or I know it's there. This is also super easy to ignore, and the game's like not like making me feel bad for ignoring it.
Nice.
And so whatever you're doing, it feels good. Like, if you're digging into everything you're just going through, it feels really good, and it has this huge emotional punch to it that is constantly surprising you, that's taking these characters that seem just kind of off-kilter and kooky at first, that end up having a lot of meaning and impact in the final moments of the game. And I just, to sum it all up, I'm just overwhelmingly impressed with it.
Yeah, going to buy.
Going to buy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to play it.
It is, I believe it's $20, and like,
throw it down.
I think people should play it.
Yeah.
It is a game
Sounds
that's
great.
like coming out in January. Like, games in a similar space last year, like, I'm more impressed with Celeste than I was with like other games last year, other indie games. Like, this is really striking.
For what I've been playing, it sounds like a nice palate cleanser. Something really different.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Now, the thing I want to throw at you, when you talk about palate cleansers, and I too enjoy palate cleansers, I got a palate cleanser on here that I can't wait to talk about. I like palate cleansers to be smooth rides, right?
Yeah, sure.
Where you're going and you're getting through it. There are definitely walls I hit with Celeste, where there's been times it's like, man, I died like 45 times here. Mm-hmm. It is you are climbing a mountain both literally and figuratively. When you talk about a palate cleanser, Brad, does that turn you off?
No.
Palate cleansers for me are not necessarily things where I can just zone out. It's just something really different for me that I haven't played in a long time. I like challenging games like that, like especially like platforming challenging games. And what makes this appealing to me is that it's really fast.
Yeah.
So if you die, immediately back. You're not wasting a lot of time. You always get to keep going quite quickly. So that sounds very appealing to me.
Do you agree with Brad? Are you kind of in a headspace where it's like, okay, I'm ready to die a bunch?
Yeah, the only thing that wouldn't be a palate cleanser for me would be if something has a ton of puzzles, because that's when I really get stuck. You know, like when I need a palate cleanser and I want to zone out and just play something fun, I don't mind dying as long as it's quick.
Sure.
And I know I can just progress.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, all right, I just got to try this a bunch of time. I know what to do. Just got to get through it.
Sorry, I have a question. So the game, is it laid out like a room really quick and you just go through the room, then it's another room? Or is it like a long level?
No, the way that it works, so you have these different chapters, and as you're climbing up the mountain, these chapters are basically completely different environments. But within the chapter itself, it's room. So
Okay.
it's like
Cool.
basically for most of the rooms, a lot of them at least, there's like a spot at the top that you're trying to get. So it's like, okay, I'm starting here in the bottom left. I've got to work my way up and get to that top spot. Once I get to that top spot, the screen will shift. I'm in this new room with a new challenge.
I think that does a real benefit to a game like that, especially because it's really small goals that you could like obtain. It's not you have to go through a huge or a huge level. It's just like you just make it there real quick.
Right.
You feel like you made some progress, even if you're stuck on it for a long time.
Definitely. And for the most part, I would say Celeste does a wonderful job of really knowing when to break up those challenges and have them not go on too long. But especially at the end of the game, they start making these rooms a lot longer. And so where it's like, okay, instead of each of these things being its individual room, we're going to chain them all together. And you are at a point, we have trained you to be able to get through this.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that's appropriate for the end.
Yeah. So Huber, you were talking about puzzles and how sometimes puzzles can really grind you to a halt in terms of playing a game. You've specifically mentioned laser puzzles, like positioning things. How do you feel in platformers about just, I don't know, dexterity puzzles? Where
Love
it's
that
like,
stuff.
okay, like where it's like I have all of these spikes, I gotta
Love it.
needle my way through,
Love that stuff.
thread my way through.
Yep.
Yeah,
Needle and thread.
needle and thread. Yeah. You get what I'm saying.
Yep.
You love that stuff.
I do.
Okay.
Or like timed ones, like you have to hit this switch and get to the door in the, before it closes.
Yeah, but
I really enjoy that because you can look at it and you know what to do. It's like, it's like, all right, I'm staring at this obstacle. There's spikes here. Clearly, I got to jump over this one, slide under this, and go through there, and I'm good.
Yeah, it's not like you got to figure out where this block goes and how to
Exactly.
position this exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Because I feel like, too, with laser puzzles, too, there's a lot of, trial and error. Like, let me set this up here.
Right.
No, well, that doesn't work. So, okay, let me try moving it here. It's like, that stuff gets me.
I feel like Darksiders 1 really scarred you.
Just, yeah. Because,
This
Resident
is
Evil...
where it really came from.
Because
I feel
Zelda and Resident Evil have a ton of puzzles.
Yes.
And Silent Hill even, big time. And I grew up with all that.
it's funny.
And it got me. I think as there's been more video games than ever and longer video games than ever, and now that I'm working with deadlines,
Right.
it's stressful. I get nervous. I get anxious. I freak out with puzzles. I'm like, I gotta get past this.
So two questions for you with the puzzle thing. Where I'm kind of falling recently is I feel myself agreeing with you. Where I feel like when you're making a game, you have that constant worry of are people going to get sick of the thing we do really well? Are people going to get sick of attacking dudes with a sword, cutting them up, shooting dudes? We need something in there to mix them up. And so I think that's a good mentality to take in a general sense. But I think it's important when you have those complete deviations where it's like, hey man, you are moving around mirrors to get this laser to this point.
Yeah.
That those feel really short. Where it's just kind of like a comma in the game,
Nice.
rather than hey, we're going to grind everything to a halt, because I hate it in games where it's I just spent more than 20 minutes doing something that the game wasn't built for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's you took all of this time into making the shooting feel really good. Either make those deviations way shorter, just so I can get a little bit of a break, or incorporate them into the thing you do well, rather than forcing them in and not really developing enough to make them worth the time.
Totally well said.
What I want to say to you, you've talked a lot. I remember, what really sticks out to me is your love of Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
And that love of Tropical Freeze was oh man, I got to go back to this. I got to finish it. I did finish it. I ended up loving it. But I feel like you and Kyle were kind of on the same wavelength, where you had this sense of place in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And that was really important to the appeal. And you get that in Mario, and you're a big Mario fan as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel, I guess, about something like a Super Meat Boy or like a Celeste, where I'm not saying that they don't have a sense of place. I actually think they do. But I think in the most immediate sense, they kind of feel like challenges, where it's little bite-sized things that are extremely difficult, but aren't necessarily all that big on their own. Yeah. How do you favor those when you compare them to each other?
Case to case. I saw some trailers and stuff for Celeste, so I saw NPCs throughout, which is really cool, and I think that adds to the context of the levels and all that, because Donkey Kong, you don't really stop and chat with anyone going through the stages. So I think that's a cool compromise by adding NPCs to add life to the levels.
something that I'm struggling with. This is a question for both of you. We'll start with Brad. It's hard to keep up now. That's a sentiment that we've expressed, I think, since Easy Allies started. Is that we're constantly overwhelmed with good games. When you hear about something like a Celeste, it's getting a lot of buzz. I'm coming on here and gushing about it. How do you prioritize things? How do you make them fit in?
Well, I always do work first. So what do we have to do for work?
Yeah.
Then it's just kind of like what I feel like playing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The game's not going anywhere. I can go to it whenever I want.
So you don't really stress about it.
Right. I don't necessarily care about being part of like the conversation really, except for like stuff like this. Mm-hmm. But I need to be in the mood to play something usually.
Yeah.
And it's just if I'm feeling it or not.
Yeah, I completely agree with you for work. But something that I'm noticing as a collection of 9 people, where we're dealing with a lot of big games, a lot of complex games, or people have their own projects or their own show obligations, there are times where it's like, this is slipping through the cracks. And it's like, oh man, I wasn't going to work on this, but I feel like it's good enough or we have enough to say about it that like we really should be trying to pull this into our workflow as best we can. Huber, how do you juggle it?
Same as Brad. Work first and then whatever I got time for, whatever's in the backlog.
So let's say you've got some time. You're hearing about Celeste. What other things would Celeste be competing with?
Hunts.
Yeah, I really need to finish Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Because we're so deep into it.
Yeah.
But the thing like Monster Hunter, right, where I had taken days off, I don't even remember how long it was, and then Saturday it was like, I'm gonna dip in.
Yeah.
And I just got sucked back into it. I was like, I just want to keep playing this forever. When you have a game that's like constantly ongoing, that's really tough to balance with a thing like Celeste.
Just trying to hit those credits. It's like Destiny when Destiny is really, really good.
Sure.
You hit those credits, then you have the end game, which you can dabble in every once in a while. Maybe do a weekly or a daily, do a challenge here and there, get some high level materials or gear. That's what I love. That's in World of Warcraft Prime.
Yeah.
That was always one of my favorite things to do. Would be to like hit the level cap and gear up, and then just every couple weeks, maybe get arena and hit your what was it, like the weekly points,
your weekly cap,
points, the arena points and all that. Mm-hmm. So like kind of maintaining it rather than like, I gotta finish this.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited that we are doing the weekly hunts thing, because it's something where it's like, okay, I've dedicated time where we can do this together indefinitely.
Yeah.
Whereas I think before was something like Destiny, we would be more objective focused where it's like, we're going to do this one thing and then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
And I like kind of having this open-endedness where it's like, no, we're kind of committed to checking back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I preferred the Monster Hunter model that we're doing compared to Destiny instead of like 8-hour stream. Yeah. I'm just like checked out at the end. And Monster Hunter's like, cool, 2 hours, like missions or whatever. Hunts don't take that long.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for our own sanity and for the fun of it. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, we're going to get on here and we're going to have fun for 2 hours. It's not going to kill us. We're not necessarily going to do things the best or most efficiently. We're just going to hang out and have fun and play.
Well, I think that's important, and I think that's a trend, too, because Destiny 2 added the raid lair, which lends itself towards that style of play, where it's like, all right, hop in, 1 to 2 hours, you're good to go.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a ton of like games I want to just try. Like I want to try goofy PC games like SOS and stuff like that.
Yep.
Do something with those, but just gotta try to find the time and fit it all in.
Yeah, it is. It's
one at a time.
I remember starting at game trailers and thinking to myself, like, I can't possibly be playing more games than I am right now. Like I've for a reasonable human being,
like our lives outside of work,
right,
and everything
like
that.
trying to be a normal human being and like playing games. But however, I feel like every year I'm playing like more games. Like,
I know.
I'm just spending more
and they
huge
seem
chunks of
longer
my time
and
playing
longer
games.
too.
But there are still things like Subnautica. I feel like is a love.
Yeah,
that
I want
to
play that. I want to play that too.
Done. Yep. And
that's why we need that new wave, the PS5 and Xbox 2.
Of all indies at the beginning.
Like, wipe the slate clean.
Wipe the slate clean.
We're all starting with NAC.
Yeah. Great. NAC 3.
But I think that's why I gravitate to things like Celeste, where it's like, hey, 5 hours.
Yes.
Get in, get out.
Yes, love that. Like when I beat Edith Finch.
Yeah.
In like a sitting.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
I beat Rhyme in a sitting. I was like, yes.
It's like... It's like you have a new light.
Yeah.
Like,
it feels so
credits.
good,
Yeah.
dude. Like SteamWorld Dig 2, man.
Yep. And Life is Strange.
Life is Strange.
Telltale Batman.
SteamWorld Dig 2 Okay, SteamWorld Dig 2 was not in my personal top 10 for the year, which is a shame.
Mine too.
Because in terms of like start to completion, one of the best feelings.
So fun.
Like just going through it.
Who would have thought digging would be so fun?
Oh,
now I'm like, I want to play SteamWorld Dig 1. I want to play SteamWorld Dig Heist. That was called, yeah. Give me the whole Heist. Universe, Marvel, cinematic, BS. I'm into it. Let's go.
SteamWorld universe.
Yeah.
Brad.
Yes.
There is a game that you're speaking about with a level of enthusiasm I wasn't anticipating, because the time that I've spent with it, I enjoyed it, but I didn't have this level of enthusiasm, and then Huber is backing you up with that level of enthusiasm, and that is Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, yeah, man. Assassin's Creed. My relationship with Assassin's Creed is very up and down.
Rocky.
With the series, yeah. Some parts I'm really into it. Some parts I just like check out pretty fast. Like I've beaten all the main ones except, is Rogue a main one?
Technically.
I haven't beat like the BS, DS, PSP ones, whatever. Like the big console release ones, I've beaten all of those. I like the Assassin's Creed. Like I don't expect a whole lot from these games where it's just like, you know, it's the checkout game where you can just zone out and play and have a good time, not to stress about it.
Right.
Yes, it
is. And it'd been like I beat Syndicate. I thought it was okay. You really love Syndicate. I thought it was all right. Been a while. I was feeling the fatigue, man. They gave us the year off.
Yep.
Very nice. Assassin's Creed Origins announced. I'm like, it looks okay. Whatever. Assassin's Creed kind of thing.
Yeah.
This may be because I didn't have high expectations when I went into it, but I went in and played Assassin's Creed Origins, and I was having a lot of fun playing this game.
Yeah.
It's not gonna like set the world on fire with Assassin's Creed or anything like that. It was just a fun, good time, zone out kind of game for me.
Assassin's Creed continues to be one of the warmest possible blankets I could ever wrap myself in.
Because it comes out
franchise.
It comes out around like
holidays, and they're always just so easy to get through. Mm-hmm. It is this long-term ongoing story. Granted, I have beaten all the mainline ones and couldn't really tell you what the hell is going on in the story.
Yeah.
But I'm still so committed because it's been going on for so long. It's the familiarity, and the warm blanket feeling too of just like seeing these real world places.
Yes.
Just like going to Victorian London and the Renaissance period and now ancient Egypt, like just playing in these virtual worlds, knowing that they were created with realism and historical accuracy in mind, is just something that like just makes me feel good when I play. I love it.
It's funny that you mention warm blanket.
Yeah.
Because when I think of warm blanket, my mind immediately jumps to Dragon Quest Builders, where it's like, oh, I have this little character who wants me to build him a room and you know, put a little fireplace in it. Or like Monster Hunter, which again, you know, very violent, and you're killing giant beasts, but you also have cats making you food and a little pig that you can.
It's a different type of blanket.
Yeah, but I wanna touch on that because in Assassin's Creed, especially the Origins, like that game starts out like way up here in terms of like, hey, you're dealing with a lot of death. People are being like mistreated. Like it's rough,
heavy duty.
Yeah, and so it is dealing with heavy things. So what makes it a warm blanket to you? Like how do you? I guess not. How are you comforted by that?
We bring this word up again. The pace, the freedom, this one really too doubled down on like gear and XP and skill trees and all that and side quests. I really appreciated the way this game handled side quests, learning more about culture and civilization and the Bayek himself, while it also being the most important way to gain XP. So like you do these side quests and like you learn about culture and things that are going on,
right? And
you also get a huge XP reward. There's like certain quest lines that will like unlock different outfits. Like there's a lot
pretty good rewards for like makes you want to do them.
Makes you want to do them. You get like cool horses and outfits. Like there's the legendary gear and epic gear. There's tombs you can go in. There's just so many things outside of the main story, like hunting. Like this is a game where you can just seriously zone out and have so much fun.
You were talking about the side quests.
Yeah.
And that is something I noticed too that I actually really like, and I can understand why people wouldn't like this. But there would be times in Origins or early on where it'd be like, hey, this is your next story quest. I'm like, wow, I'm like 3 levels below. Like I just did a story quest, and now it's like saying, no, you should buff yourself up.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. I like that sort of, hey, go out there and do other things, explore. And I appreciate that strong push because I find in a lot of games where you're just kind of going along and you feel overpowered as is, but you're not really making an effort to feel that way. And so you're doing side quests, but you're doing them just to kind of fill out like some OCD need rather than feeling like, oh man, I should do this so I can be well prepared for the big things that are coming up. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, and now there's like endgame raid boss, like not a raid, but there's like
bosses.
Endgame.
I did all of them. They're pretty boring.
Oh, okay.
They're like whatever.
Dang. Did you get that sick Anubis armor?
I don't know. There was like 3 like they're like gods. They're based off the gods, and they're just like whatever fights.
Okay. You get some like flaming Anubis armor set that looks really cool. Like, I'm into that.
What made the boss fights not great?
They're all kind of the same. So you're just kind of like in an area, and there's like a guy in the background, like one of the gods in the background, and you shoot arrows at him. Then he like does like some MMO like
a
line
slam.
attack, slam. Then like you have like a few guys come up, and that's about it. And they're all kind of just like that.
Yeah.
When you've done one, you've pretty much seen all of them.
Yeah. Then they added a horde mode in a new area.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's new. And then the DLC, the reason I've been playing is because I reviewed it at an event on a dev system. I don't have my own saved game. Now they just announced the expansion. The expansion just came out, which is like really good story stuff that takes place after the main game.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Except you have to be level 40.
I like that though because it is at the end of the game.
Exactly.
You're gonna be like right around that level near the end of the game, so it makes sense to me.
So I really wanted to gear up for that. And then in March, there's one other DLC that sounds really cool. It's all about like ancient Egyptian beasts and mummies.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's
way
what I'm
more
in for.
like supernatural stuff. And they're raising the level cap on that one to like 55.
Yeah.
So it just has this like long-term, I don't want to say like Destiny, but it has that like living check back in vibe to
they
it. They
did have a quest that are like, you have this amount of days to do it, kind of thing like that.
So it feels like Destiny in the sense that it's like you can come back to this and check in, and like your gear and everything will help you with the challenges that they keep adding.
Yeah, it's weird because I played Assassin's Creed Origins a lot at a preview event. I think I played about 3 hours of it. And then I played it on PlayStation 4 and on Xbox One X for a while. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh man, this is good, but I don't know if it's good enough for me to really want to fully invest in and get through. But I'm doubting myself because I like the good not great thing was very much stuck in my mind. Yeah. But now I'm hearing both of you being like, oh no, we're really glad we invested the time.
And it takes a while to get into.
Sure.
They're like the first 5 hours are really slow in terms of what is even going on in the plot. It's hard to get fully invested in the first couple hours, and it's like your training wheels are on. You know, it'll be like, all right, go to the viewpoint and kill a couple guys. And
I mean, there's your typical Ubisoft camps. You know, you clear out the camp, you take it over, kind of thing. There's like a lot of that in this game.
Yeah,
but it came out at a time. It was I played it over kind of like our winter break when everyone was kind of gone.
Yeah,
and it was the perfect time. I was feeling the grind.
Yeah.
Watching the numbers go up,
really
leveling
good
up.
dopamine.
Like I was just feeling that at the time, so I think that helped a lot. And the time period to me is super fascinating with, I don't want to tell you what's all going on, but there's more than Egypt in it. Like events going on in it. All that's super fascinating to me, so super cool.
I'm curious,
And I love when there's like optional endgame stuff.
Yeah,
like,
there's like a big post game.
Yeah, I know those bosses are like kind of whatever, but then there's like the giant elephants you can fight, and then there's like there's a group of like assassins that are trying to kill you, and and the main character Bayek and his wife Aya are like
pretty good
bad asses.
Pretty good relationship between them.
Really, I really like them together.
It's so funny how mood influences reception when it comes to a video game.
Yeah,
because I am totally with you. There are spots in my life, and they come up pretty often, where it's like, I just want to make numbers go up. Yeah. I just want to have that very obvious progression of make me stronger over time and make me do cool new things where I'm really into it. But then there are other times where it's like, no, like I just don't. I'm not.
Yeah,
that was
what
like
I want to get out of you. I need to get quicker.
That was like me with Nier Automaton, man. It was mood, and I just, in that moment when I was playing it, I wasn't feeling it right then.
Right.
But like a year ago or a year from now,
yeah,
I might be craving it, and it can end up being my favorite game of all time, you know?
Right.
So I just always need games like Assassin's Creed in my life where I can tune everything out, have no stakes, and just feel the familiarity of the franchise.
And I think it's important to not force it, which it seems like both of you are practicing very, very well. Yeah. But it's also interesting to see the conversations from you guys, and online you see a lot of this. Like, there are times where both of you and myself will come in and be like, you have to play this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because how it lined up with our mood and how it struck us is very particular, and we just want to give you that same sensation, even though you might not be in the same spot.
Yeah.
So, but I also think it's important to express that opinion because, like, had it not been for your guys' enthusiasm, I would have just completely forgotten about it.
And, like,
Origins.
Games and people are not static, you know?
Right.
It's like they've patched this game 30 times now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, this game is a living thing. We're living things. Like, both the game and our own personal wavelengths and moods and vibes are constantly changing.
Yeah. And, you know, you can't blame human beings for, like, trying to get a read on things so they can understand them. But I agree. I think that is something that we have forgotten in this very digestible age, where just because you see somebody talking about something or really involved with something, it doesn't mean they're always going to be interested in that or that they can't be interested in other things. And I think it is important to be open-minded about those things. Like, if you come to me 5 years and you're like, hey, I just finished Nier, like, I still want to talk about it with you.
Yeah, we will.
There's not an expiration date on having a good time.
I played Nier, the original one, late.
Right. Yeah, me
talked
too.
to you about that,
Yeah.
Also, really want to talk about HDR.
Okay.
Because
the colors.
There's been so much criticism of 4K, like, oh, it's just more HD, you can't really tell the difference, you know, like, sure, whatever.
No,
to each their own.
Okay.
Some people can see the
you can
difference.
totally see it if you play on a 4K TV.
I agree, but I think HDR is really what it's all about, and I just want to say Assassin's Creed Origins looks even better now than it did when it first came out. Like, I'm actually blown away. There's this moment, I just want to say, there's, like, you know when you ever go to, like, a lake or a river or you're near the ocean and the sun is shining on the water in a way and it reflects off and it's like a brilliant white or like a really bright white light?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
When the sun is, like, hitting
on the water,
yeah. That happened in Assassin's Creed, and I just stood there staring at that for, like, 10 minutes.
Burning your retinas.
Because I was blown away by how good HDR looks. I just love it.
Yeah.
I just want to hype it up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad that you do, and I think you feel so compelled to, because for as impressive as games often look, I don't think you have the, like, I'm completely overwhelmed by technology, where it's like, I couldn't even imagine responding to something like this way. And it sounds like the light reflecting off the water,
I'm just like, whoa.
It's not even something you can put into words. You just have to.
It's such a small thing.
Right.
Like HDR, you know, going back to even Wolfenstein with, like, the fire, or Call of Duty in the fireplace and, like, the
lighting,
hanging lights. Like, it's just such a small thing that continues to impress me and draw me deeper into the games I play.
Yeah. The first Assassin's Creed, I really had that sensation where just the feeling of how you moved that character and how the character responded to things in the environment very specifically, that was a similar moment where I just was, like, completely washed over with, like, oh, we're here now. Like, we're taking another step.
A leap,
Yeah. Brad.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about Dissidia Final Fantasy NT.
Oh, okay.
I want to caution these impressions a little bit because I'm still, like, picking away at it.
What is the NT?
Don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Next time.
And I think the reason why I did not investigate further is I'm kind of at this point with Square Enix titles where it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you call yourself.
Whatever it's going to be, I just accept it at face value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
But no, I should know what it stands for. I'm still in the early goings of Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, but I feel weird about it.
Sure.
I think fundamentally, there's something very appealing about having all these characters look as good as they do.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like tag teaming Noctis with Lightning. That sounds like a dream come true.
Oh man, I want to show you like one of the first cutscenes you get.
Can you like tag each other in?
No, it's not a tag fighter.
It's not, yeah.
Okay.
You have a team.
Yeah.
You have a team of 3 people versus 3 people.
Yeah.
But you're not tagging each other in. However, you can kind of like help each other out where it's like, okay, I'm going to set up like Lightning to do this big attack. Like, I'm going to get a couple hits in and then she's going to get a huge hit in.
But like they Lightning and Noctis won't have their own unique co-op attack.
No.
Oh.
No.
Because I'm crazy.
It's not Chrono Trigger.
No, I don't believe so based on what I've played so far.
That'd be too crazy.
But it's I mean, obviously there were other Dissidia games, but I still think like in the context of what's going on right now, it feels pretty different. Where you have it sounds, I think for a lot of people it just probably sounds too crazy because you have bravery attacks and then HP attacks. And basically what it means is you do these bravery attacks, these quicker attacks, to kind of whittle them down, and then once they're vulnerable, use an HP attack to finish them off, to incapacitate them. That's about as simple as it gets.
That reminds me of like PlayStation All-Stars.
Kind of.
Like its own like kind of mechanic thing. Like that, like building up, then using something to end it.
And it feels somewhat similar to Gundam Versus, where you're kind of dashing and chasing after people and attacking them in the air. And you want to like knock them against the wall so you can get big follow-up attacks. And so it's fun and very distinct. I think out the gate, that's what I want to say. What I don't understand is like how it chooses to present itself. So there's a story mode, okay? But you don't just hit story mode and then go through this thing. You unlock it. It's like this giant grid where there are all these nodes, and you have to spend currency to unlock
the story?
Unlock the story piece by piece.
No.
And so
Don't do
last night I was playing Dissidia, and you can like grind online or you can grind offline battles. The online wasn't working.
Didn't Street Fighter V do that too?
No.
Each.
So in Street Fighter V, you had like a story mode for the character, and then they had like a big cinematic story mode. But I think what you're thinking is once you beat it, you had to like buy the costume that you unlocked.
Oh, okay.
But it's not like you buying the actual mode. There's a giant like grid, and there are a bunch of points on this map. And as you like raise your level and character level, you will get currency that you can spend to unlock these nodes.
Yeah.
I think I've unlocked like 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. They've all just been cutscenes.
Really?
There's not.
Are the cutscenes cool?
Not really.
Damn.
Like they're kind of okay.
Is there one with Noctis and Lightning?
Yes.
We need it.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Like immediately.
Yes. They know. They know.
And so it feels so piecemeal where you'll get just like this tiny crumb, and it's like, okay, go and level up again. And so just immediately it feels very grindy.
Ben, I have so many questions.
Yeah, hit me.
Like, where in the timeline is this? Does Lightning acknowledge the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy? Is she like a wandering goddess? Like, has she been to Paris at this point?
I mean,
like, give me all that.
I don't know why you're doing this to me, because like obviously I'm not like a Dissidia lore expert, nor do I have any intention of being one.
Hubert, my impression is of it's like Heroes of the Storm. Kind of just everyone's just kind of there.
Okay.
They're from their.
Yeah, let me give you the rundown. Okay,
if
and this is true. And the other Dissidia games that I've played, there's like a good god and a bad god.
Okay.
And there are villains from Final Fantasy on the bad god side.
Okay.
And there are good characters on the good god side, and they clash and they fight each other.
And that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Like the good goddess is like, hey, I think it's Noctis or Lightning. It's somebody. They're like, so you just like grabbed us and put us in this battle, and she's like, yep, pretty much.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm condensing it down and simplifying it, but that is pretty much what's there.
Yeah.
So it's not incredibly engaging.
Yeah.
And so I think what I'm trying to say here, the ultimate point with Dissidia is, why aren't you giving me a little bit more? And what you are presenting, like, why are you doing it this way? Where it's like, I'm having a good time. I'm not having such a good time that I feel like really thrilled to keep grinding this currency and spending these tokens to get these like okay cutscenes.
Yeah.
And other than fighting online in ranked or doing these gauntlet battles in offline, it's just There's just not a lot there. It just feels very thin. And so I think you have like this good foundation, and maybe, once I get involved online, I'll be having a really good time and I'll want to stick with it. But it just feels weird. It just doesn't feel like it's presenting itself in the best way that feels super motivating.
Yeah. The appeal to me of these games, of why I would want to play them, is just to see characters I know in like PS4 or whatever graphics. Like seeing Cecil like not as like a little 2D thing or something like that. Like that's awesome seeing like that. But I feel like this game came out at a bad time.
It did,
especially against Dragon Ball. Like Dragon Ball is probably such a like. You should probably play Dragon Ball instead of this game. I don't really like fighting games like this where it's kind of like the big 3D environments like behind the character kind of thing like that. I much prefer your classic 2D whatever or your Tekken kind of fighting games like that.
Sure, me too.
But I can't help but like wanting to be like Cloud and fight Sephiroth and Midgar. Like that's awesome, but how long will that last for me?
Right, and what I want to emphasize about the fighting is while I'm having a pretty good time, it's not outstanding. It's not so good that the mechanics of this game are enough to really keep me invested. Because like even switching between targets and the summoning crystals that you need to hit, it's like hit both triggers to get the guy that's closest to you, and it's really finicky. It's like, wait, no, I hit the thing. Why aren't you targeting that guy? It's not as smooth as it feels like it should be. And you were talking about like the appeal of seeing these characters realized in these graphics.
Yeah, and like their interactions. And if they're not even that great kind of thing, like you don't get excited about seeing like Kefka with someone like that.
And I think that's a good entry point, but that's a lot to ask for $60, especially where it's like, oh man, at least right now in this early going, I don't feel like there's much beyond that.
Yeah.
And you're right, coming against Dragon Ball FighterZ, where I feel like the fighting is more fun. I feel like there's more to see. I feel like there's more to do. Mm-hmm. It's just, again, that thing of time, right? Where like, I'm not sitting here and I'm saying like, oh man, I think Dissidia is terrible. I don't think it's terrible. Right. But it's just like, there's only so much time in the day to devote to all of these games. And I feel like I would rather just put that time into FighterZ, at least right now. But
is Barthandelus in it?
No, Barthandelus
is not going to be in anything else besides 13.
For sure, on both the hero and villain side. There's some deeper cuts than I was expecting.
Oh, is there more than just like the standard two characters per game, like hero villain?
It depends on the game.
So, like, is there anyone else from Final Fantasy 7 besides Sephiroth and Cloud?
Dude,
no,
Tifa?
I don't think so.
No Tifa, no Barret?
There's no Tifa. No, I think it is just one hero and one villain.
Villain from each game, yeah.
Could be wrong on that. I'm just saying, like, the games represented. Like, I wasn't expecting to see Ace from Type 0 in there.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is not necessarily characters from the games that you would expect. I'm saying the games represented were a little bit weirder and deeper than I was expecting.
The only thing that intrigues me about this game is, like, I'm not even trolling. I'm being 100% serious. Yeah. I need a lightning check-in.
Sushi's
I need to check in.
I want to show you on YouTube this cutscene between Noctis and Lightning.
Yeah. Like, I want to see it.
Does she say, do you dream of death in it?
Not that I've heard so far. Yeah. Not that I've heard so far.
Because, like, I feel like Lightning Returns wrapped up the trilogy, but at the same time...
Left it open.
Yeah, at the same time, kind of left it open.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know...
In a very weird way, left it open.
The most bizarre way possible.
You know, there was a time, I think it was around Lightning Returns, where, I don't know if it was Ryan or who it was, somebody pitched to us like, hey, do you want to like...
That was us. The story recap?
The story recap. You want to summarize...
That was me and you.
The story of Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
And I remember just like digging into all of that and being
insane.
No.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. Crazy. No.
That's like a 5-man job.
It's too much. It's just...
Buena Velza.
Snow nightclub.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So wait, who's the... If it's 13, then it's Lightning and Caius, maybe?
I believe Lightning is the only representation.
Oh, they didn't even put a villain in, dude. Yeah. They couldn't put Caius in?
Wow.
Yeah, there's not always equal representation.
Wasn't he in
X2?
Wasn't he in 3, though?
13-2, I mean.
Wasn't he in 3
I think
also?
He came back, Lightning Returns.
Yeah, I can't remember, man.
Weren't there like 2 versions of it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Was that Kingdom Hearts? I don't know.
I'm surprised there's not a Kingdom Hearts character in this yet, like DLC
dude, tie it in.
Like Sora or something.
I think that might be the thing. Like, hey, building up to Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Celebration release.
An Organization 13 member. wearing the cloak and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of breaking the entire point of Dissidia, which is we're having Final Fantasy characters fight each other. Although
Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
yeah,
Kingdom Hearts peanut butter and jelly already. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Sora was in like what, World of Final Fantasy? He was in there too as like
I don't know.
A DLC
Is
character.
he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, yes, it's for sure happening.
Cool. Cool. When I could be goofy and fight Sephiroth, I'm in. That's the day I buy it.
That'd be so awesome.
Goofy summoning Bahamut against Sephiroth.
Dude, yeah.
Come forth.
Like, this is a game I'll buy when it's $20 or $30.
I think that's the right call.
Yeah. I don't need it right now.
Yeah. I having spent full price on it, I wish I hadn't.
Regrets.
Yep.
That always hurts, man.
Dang.
I wish I hadn't.
Stings.
Dang.
Okay. Huber, you got a big one. You've got a big one. We got
The
this
big one.
very early. You were playing it for review, which I don't believe is for a long time. Don't expect that review soon, but you can talk about. The embargo for streaming and previewing is up for Yakuza 6: The Song of Life.
Song of Life.
That sounds like almost like a Castlevania subtitle thing.
Is immediately one of my favorite subtitles of a game of all time. The Song of Life.
Like,
I love it.
If
It's
there's Castlevania,
poetic.
The Song of Life, I'd be like, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's standard business.
So we are very early. I will not spoil this. I'm just going to talk about very early gameplay that has nothing really to do with the plot, especially considering many people have only finished Yakuza 0 and 1. A lot of catching up to do.
Me.
But Yakuza 6 does a very good job of catching everyone up. You know, like every Yakuza, there's a big thing of like previously on. You can watch all the previously events. But, oh my goodness. This game. Okay, so Yakuza 0 hit me really hard, and I was like, wow. I don't understand how the 6th Yakuza game that I've played is the best one.
Right.
Now I'm going through those exact same emotions with Yakuza 6. Just is outdoing itself again. And the only thing I really want to talk about today is the immersion. The immersion. I'm not even memeing. I'm not even trolling. So, visually, the best Yakuza's ever looked. Like, stunning visuals.
Is this the first one that's
just
PS4 only?
PS4, yeah.
Was
PS4
Kiwami
only.
on PS3?
Maybe Kiwami was PS4 only as well.
But that
Not
was
sure.
a Zero engine, right?
0 was also on PS3 for sure.
So Kiwami's probably the Zero engine. This
Yeah.
might be a new one. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
So the biggest thing is that going inside buildings, there's no loading. And like we briefly talked about this during E3 of just like you can go in anywhere and there's no loading.
Right.
But now that I've really like got to run around Kamurocho and just hang out and live life as a Yakuza, like this is huge.
Well, and it's not just the transition into buildings.
Yeah.
It is the fights themselves.
The fights themselves, going into buildings, there's a first person mode that is something I had no idea I wanted, and it is amazing. Like coming up to a ramen shop and busting out first person and opening the door and stepping in and just soaking it in, dude. The atmosphere is incredible. So like a typical day in the life of Kazuma and Yakuza 6, this is how the last couple nights of my life have gone down, okay? Waking up, playing some Yakuza, going to the ramen shop, loading up on some food, stumbling outside, getting into a fight, going to a bar, throwing down some whiskey, like going back outside in the night, getting into a fight. Just like the way this all seamlessly goes together, because like food is extremely important in this game. Mm-hmm. Food and drink. You have a hunger meter. You have a hunger meter that you can level up. There's a ton of stuff you can level up now in Yakuza 6, which is awesome. But there's a hunger meter. And that'll go down over time. Like you'll get more hungry as you fight more. As you run around, you like build up an appetite. So then you can eat food, and different food fills you up accordingly, right? So like a bowl of rice will be like 5 food points, whereas like a full-on bento box will be like 40. When you eat, you earn XP, and then when you drink, you also earn XP, and you can get drunk, and that'll increase your proficiency in fights. So just this loop of like getting in some brawls, building up an appetite, and then like cooling off with some food and drink is just something that is so simple, but it has sucked me into the world of Yakuza like never before in the last decade. It is something that just needs, like, you need to play it to live that.
Yeah, these elements, I mean, not all of them, but some of these elements that you're talking about, like going and eating and having drunkenness be a part of the fighting and getting experience for eating all that stuff. These are elements that have been played around with Yakuza before. So is it really this hunger meter that changes everything? Like what is it about this particular loop that has you so invested in comparison to past games?
It's the hunger meter and because you get so much XP by eating. It's a big way to earn XP. They tell you in the beginning too. It's like, yo, for the early goings, like, you can really get a hold of.
So it feels a lot more significant than than it has been in past games.
Very significant, and this is, again, I'm not spoiling plot details. This next one, not really a spoiler, but if you're super sensitive, but there's a guy there's a personal trainer that you can go to, and you do some mini games where like you're lifting weights and all this.
Dude, getting gains.
That gives you XP, and then at the end he'll be like, all right, time for a riddle, like a food riddle, and he'll be like, to get the most out of your workout, I recommend eating some like
protein,
some protein with a side of veggies or something, and like he'll give you a hint, and then if you go eat that food, if you guess right,
bonus,
you get a bonus, and that'll increase your gains, and then you like report back to him. Also, really want to hone in on this immersion thing. What you're encouraged to match up your food in a realistic way. So you find these combinations that give you bonuses. So if like I go in and I order a salad, a steak, and a piece of cake and a beer, it'll be like, bonus, like 4-course meal. Or like one of them was like ramen and a tea or something. It was like, and it just encourages you to realistically order food at a restaurant.
Right.
And it's just odd.
That sounds great because that is something with Yakuza that, not really a complaint, but there were a lot of times as I'm going through Yakuza games where I'm like, it's cool that I can go to all these different restaurants, but they've done different ways of incentivizing it, but there have been moments where I'm like, I don't really need to. And so the more that they can encourage you to really live in that city and get immersed and really make all of those things feel valuable and like they're contributing to your overall progression is very, very, very important.
Ben, dude, there's 5 XP things. So there's like strength, endurance, vitality, technique, and spirit. Wow, I think I got all those. And spirit, I think spirit is really, really important because a lot of skills use that one, but it's hard to gain because when you get in fights, you earn like strength and vitality and stuff. So it encourages you to not only eat, but to go like karaokeing. Because if you do karaoke,
you get spirit.
Then you get a bunch of spirit. So now it's encouraging you to do these side activities and mini games.
I like that,
And it's all tied in to a way that is the most efficient and engaging it's ever been in the franchise.
I want to go back to you talking about this first-person mode, where you were, because I think on the face of it, you just say, hey, this game has a first-person mode. Yeah. It's that's cool, but not something you would maybe jump up and down for. But is the reason you're so excited is because, hey, we're taking this place that's very familiar to me. I get to look at it in a different way, and it looks better than ever. Is it that familiarity, or is it just simply how good it looks?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above, Ben. And you love Japan. Brad loves Japan.
So I've been told.
I too love Japan.
Yeah.
Just walking down this street, day or night, it's just so great. Like, you're even walking, like, again, attention to detail. I'm walking in a back alley. It's nighttime. You can just hear kind of the low hum of the city.
Yeah.
I go in a back alley and like there's a little light coming out from a little residential house. and I walk by and just hear a couple people laughing and talking. Just those little details that suck you into this world. It's so good.
I think
So good.
I think a big thing with Yakuza 0 and to some extent Kiwami as well, one of my biggest surprises is like, okay, they're not just adding new things, but the new things that they're adding are completely unexpected.
Yeah.
Like the pocket racing or the real estate management or the cabaret management, where it was just like these pretty involved, complex things that weren't just your average Yakuza minigames. Are you finding yourself being surprised in that way too, where it's like, oh, they're adding things that maybe I didn't quite expect? Can you not go into it? Or is it just what is there they're making a lot more meaningful, and that's the big takeaway?
So unfortunately, I'm not far enough to have unlocked the 2 huge mini games, which not a spoiler, they've shown them. One of them is the clan creator, like you create your own Yakuza clan with like cards and stuff.
Oh
yeah, so that's kind of the card, like
cards.
Yeah,
man.
But then there's the baseball management simulator, which I cannot wait.
Foaming at the mouth.
That's
Michael
really
Huber.
interesting.
Yeah, I need to get. I'm not that far, but I went to Club Sega, and once again, first person, just like again, like that loop of like getting in a fight, getting drunk, stumbling out, and then walking into a Sega arcade. Like they have Outrun.
It's now a simulator.
Yeah, it is.
It's now a simulator.
So went over to Club Sega. Just played a little Virtua Fighter 5. Went all the way. Got to the final boss. Died a couple times, though.
Cool.
Was so bummed. I used Go.
Yeah.
He was pretty cool. He seemed very, like, anime edgelord. He seemed like an Uchiha kind of character.
Is he the ninja character?
No, he's got, like, some scars.
Oh, okay.
Looks kind of like a street Yakuza thug.
Is that why you picked him? Was because of the Uchiha vibes?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
He's, like, kind of pale with scars.
Yeah, that's right. Uchiha,
Yeah.
How crazy is it? The Virtua Fighter 5,
The
which
full game
was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a fair bit of ago. I'm not saying that, but like, doesn't feel like that long, at least to me. So like to be like, we have this in that,
and you can
it's
play
like,
2 players.
what?
You can just play each other and be the full
That's
Virtua Fighter.
Can't
so
you
cool.
do Puyo Puyo 2
They
players
have
as
Puyo
well?
Puyo.
Yeah.
They have
they have-
Super Hang-On.
Do they have Virtual Cop?
They don't have Virtual Cop. That'd be insane, Brad.
Gotta save something for 7.
Yeah.
Save it for the sequel.
And Outrun and Space
Like
Harrier, of course.
when is House the Dead gonna be in it?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. And then all the minigames are back, like darts and stuff, and they're just so... They're all so different and so fun. Even all the weightlifting ones, too. They all have different mechanics of, like... You know, they're all little minigames that have... A bunch of minigames with their own mechanics that all reward you in different ways that are all fun to play.
Do these games give you, like, how you said the 5 stats? Do these games add to any of those?
Yeah. So when you play Outrun, you get a bunch of stats.
This is very cool here.
Yeah. So
I'm very
everything
excited about
you
this
do
mechanic.
everything you do gives you XP, and then again, there's like all these skill trees of like, and it's pretty involved like XP stuff.
Whoa.
Like it's gonna take a while. I assume you'll only be able to max out in like New Game Plus. So there's a lot of stuff to do. There's one page that's just straight up stats. So it's like boost attack, boost defense, boost health. That's a ton of points. You can just keep going on that. And then there's ones that are like attack faster and like new combos or like upgrade your heat meter. So there's like different categories. And then the items come back. You can equip different items, pawn shop, all that stuff we're familiar with the franchise is back. And again, I don't want to say a word about the story.
Sure. So. I think the tone that you're striking, though, like, I don't know. Outside of events, I really haven't played Yakuza 6.
Yeah.
But the tone that you're striking feels very similar to how I felt about Yakuza 0.
Yep.
Where, there's Yakuza 3, Yakuza 4, Yakuza Dead Souls, Yakuza 5, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami.
Yeah.
A lot of games.
I know.
Right? We're set in the same place.
Yeah.
Playing the same character.
Yeah.
Okay? The way that you're describing it is exactly how I felt with Yakuza 0, where it's kind of remarkable how many similarities there are, but the way that they're twisting it is creative enough and adds enough that you don't feel that burnout. You don't feel that like, kind of been there, done that. And that was really, like, Yakuza 0 is a long game.
Yeah.
Long game. I wasn't tuned out for any of it.
No.
And it sounds like you are as intensely invested in Yakuza 6 as we all felt with Yakuza 0.
And especially, this is 6 now, so we get to see what is coming next in the story, which is always fun. Like going back to 0 is a prequel, which obviously was awesome because when Yakuza 1 starts out, it's like Kazuma is already kind of a legend, and he's kind of been through it all when 1 even starts. So it was cool to go back. It was in 0 and like see his origins, and Majima, of course. But 0 being a prequel had that like 80s style and like this sick kind of flair to it and the rock music and everything. 6 being modern day is just real clean.
Nice.
Yakuza 6 has a real smooth and clean vibe from the way everything is presented to the way you get tips and text messages on your cell phone. Everything about it, like even the words of like, the little headers of like where you are or like names and dates. Everything is just so clean.
That would be the best back of the box quote of all time. If I saw a game and it just said so clean, I'd be like, damn, gotta play this.
Huber, I want to talk to you about the combat. Real quick. Last thing, because we've got a long lead up into the Yakuza 6, and so I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about. But the combat specifically, I know they've kind of incorporated, they have incorporated some things from the styles of 0 and Kiwami into 6, but the styles aren't there specifically.
Correct.
You're not switching between the different things. How do you feel about the combat? Do you feel like there's enough there? Do you feel like this is a step back? Is
Pros
it
and
similar?
cons.
Okay.
So little criticism. I feel really OP.
Okay.
But contextually, headcanon, I'm the freaking Dragon of Dojima, man. This is Yakuza 6. How many people, how many legends have I taken down? I shouldn't be wasting my time with street trash, Some street thug comes up, Dragon of Dojima should take him out in one punch.
I already beat up 1,000 guys in 0.
Yeah. So,
there's so many games.
So a lot of those fights are pretty easy. Granted, I've been eating a lot of food, so even a couple of the bosses have just been a cakewalk.
Oh, really? Because they're usually long.
They're usually long and really, really hard. Like, those early Yakuza games were so hard. It's like you needed to load up on items.
See, what you're describing...
There was always that jump in the older Yakuza games, the boss fights.
I feel like there's a jump in 0 and Kiwami too. At least for me.
Yes, there is.
For sure.
Where I felt like with 0 and Kiwami, for like most of the game, I really didn't have to think too much about what I was doing.
But those bosses.
Yeah, and the bosses, a lot of times the bosses would be like, all right, this is just, what is the cheapest way I can get through this long fight?
Load up on those items.
But I remember with both of those games, and other Yakuza games as well, where like it feels like there's definitely a jump at the end where you're getting a lot of challenge that wasn't there throughout. And I think in 0, like having Mr. Shakedown, having that threat kind of mix things up really did help. But I do think like difficulty curve is totally a legitimate complaint that you can throw at Yakuza.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if there's going to be that similar jump in 6.
Totally. I hope it comes because then it just makes everything I'm doing even more meaningful.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like because I've gone out of my way to do all this stuff, like eating and working out and getting those gains, that like, and story, it's paid off. And story-wise, obviously, it's Kazuma.
And it is a double-edged sort of criticism where it's like a problem I want them to solve, but at the same time, if I'm having like regular battles be far too drawn out, then it's like, well, now I'm not looking forward to fighting at all.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, what sweet heat action can I do?
Yeah.
And it's not so demanding that I can play around with that.
Dude, heat actions are so cool.
There's so many crazy
Damn,
ones.
I love those.
Then there's like vending machines with drinks, and you can buy a drink and hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then like drink it right before a fight if you like see people coming, and those will give you different bonuses like more XP or more attack or more defense. You just like you have this like mocha tea or something, and you're just like.
I was really hoping you were gonna tell me that you could like slam the can in somebody's face and just like smash it on him. That's awesome.
Something I want to say about fights. Some last thing. What was it? Oh, you're talking about the styles.
Yeah.
So that stuff is kind of there presently, because when you do like trigger mode or the crazy heat mode, when you turn all crazy, then your normal attacks do like beast mode style.
Where
and
you're
0
grabbing things automatically.
when you grab them. So like that stuff is there kind of in a different way, which I thought was a really cool cool nod, if you will.
It sounds like you are feeling Yakuza 6.
I am beyond blown away.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I am unbelievably impressed on every level.
Because I just, on the internet, reading people who had played through the Japanese version, there was definitely some sort of pools of disappointment. And so I'm curious if you'll feel that way when you finish.
Hope not.
Where the story goes, how that wraps up. But it sounds like right now, like all of the, not only are there a bunch of new additions that they're all really meaningful and having constant effect on how you're playing. I'm excited to hear more.
Yes.
I'm very excited to hear more. I'm excited to dig in, honestly.
Yeah.
That's really what
I'm excited to dig in like 10 years from now when I eventually get to it.
Yeah.
Get that Kiwami
I need
2.
Kiwami of every game.
Yeah, honestly, like, some Yakuzas are more important to the story than others, but really try to go through them all before you play 6. Like, I'm sorry. It's like, that's all I'm going to say.
So play 6 games, then play this
one.
one.
The thing with Yakuza is, like, hey, if you're looking for a starting point, play 0, play 0, play 0, play 0.
Yes.
Like, just play 0.
Yeah.
There's
Play
your
0.
starting point.
Play 0.
You don't need to have a long conversation about it.
Yeah.
There's no back and forth.
Yep.
Just play 0.
0.
Just play 0.
Exactly.
Play 0.
Play 0.
All right.
Play it now.
Brad, you were talking about how it's going to take you a long time to get to Yakuza 6. You have been digging into something I'm super curious about, and you finished
Yeah.
Lost Sphear.
Yeah.
Lost.
Lost Sphear, the follow-up spiritual successor, I can't talk, to I Am Setsuna. This is Tokyo RPG Factory's second game in the series, and it is a good RPG. Not going to blow you away, but it's just a good, solid RPG.
How long is this good RPG?
To beat the game from, like, everything took me a little under 30.
Okay.
A little under 30 hours.
Brad, when we're talking about, we live in an era of absurdly good stuff happening a lot.
Yes.
In the video game world.
Yes.
It's hard. We were talking about positioning things in your mind. It's hard to figure out where to put a good 30-hour RPG.
Bad time again on release schedule, I feel like, for this game. Came out when a lot of big hitters came out, specifically Monster and Dragon Ball, and I feel like this game is just going to get kind of left to the wayside, and it is probably, I would say it's a little expensive for what it is.
Sure.
It's $50.
That's
I think if it was 30, it would be a real sweet spot for this game.
Okay.
And I think that's going to turn a lot of people off on the price tag.
I thought it was 20 or 30.
Yeah, it should be a little cheaper.
So you talked about because of it releasing in a bad time, people writing it off. Do you think people should write it off? Like what's
It depends
there?
what you're looking for from this game. Like I've seen a lot of criticism for this game because it's not the next Chrono Trigger. And I think that's like a kind of absurd statement to make about this game.
It's funny because like I feel like based on what I've seen of Lost Sphear and I Am Setsuna, it's like there are reasonable comparisons to
Yes,
to
these
Chrono
games are
Trigger.
definitely inspired and going for like that kind of vibe of like these are the kind of games we're trying to make this game off.
Right.
But it's not necessarily going to be as good as like Chrono Trigger is one of the best games I think of all time, I would say.
Right, and it's one of these situations where not only are you dealing with like the actual goodness of Chrono Trigger, you're dealing with this decades-long build-up and expectation and putting it on a pedestal.
Like this game takes ideas, a lot of like ideas from that kind of game, but I think it's a little ridiculous to be like disappointed that's not as good as Chrono Trigger.
Sure, I think what would disappoint me though is does it feel like it has enough of its own identity?
I feel like it does, especially in the story. I think the story is really cool. Actually, I really love the story. I love the characters in this game too. I think they're great characters. It has this mechanic that's pretty unique. Like I haven't seen this in any JRPG before that I could think of. It's called like. The whole story is there's things like a phenomenon going on around the world that's causing things to become lost, which is they're like essentially white voids. They kind of just are erased from reality. They're there, but they're just white voids. And the main character, Kanata, has the ability to restore these things through memories. So the game, you're collecting memories to restore essentially items or like people or like locations of the game. You're restoring them back to reality.
Cool.
And this ties into a gameplay mechanic. You can... Throughout the world, there's like certain points you could restore stuff to like restore the map, but you could put like buffs throughout the world with these. So they're called artifacts. So you could put like one of the first ones you do is you put down the artifact and it gives you could choose what you want. So you can get the world map. You can see the world map this time, or you can get ones where hey, if you do, you might do more chance to crit, but you'll take more damage or something like that. And you could stack these up, so you can kind of build. Like these buffs essentially kind of throughout the world to specify like how you like to play the game. Like, oh man, you do this attack, their like ATB gauge might drop down a little bit, so they won't be able to attack as fast. Stuff like that.
With these different buffs that you're applying, did you feel incentivized throughout the game to constantly change that up, or did you kind of feel like, this buff is good, I'm just going to stick with that?
You're constantly, like, throughout the game, you're getting new ones. Like, it's not, you just get summed up to 10 hours and that's it. Like, throughout the whole game, I was pretty much getting new ones, so I was kind of experimenting, seeing what's on there.
These new ones, are they what you would expect? Like, hey, you're getting increased defense? Or
kind of. Some of them, like, one of them I didn't expect was, hey, at the start of the battle, you're just going to do 100 damage to everyone right away.
Okay.
And then, like, when your turn's over, then you could do 100 more damage. Yeah. So then, like, I think you can get up to 3 of those, so you can just kind of stack and, like, do a lot of damage. Yeah. So, I mean, there are your kind of typical ones, but there's a little more variety that I would say than I'd expect from them.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool mechanic. I want to circle back around to the story and characters because I think sometimes, reasonably, it's hard not to be cynical about JRPG story and characters.
Absolutely.
You said you liked them. You said there was something that you grabbed onto here. What was that thing?
Well, I will say that some characters, like most, I guess, games, have a more impactful moment in the story. Like, their story is more important to the overall scope of the story compared to some other, like, you know, like Final Fantasy 7, you got Yuffie. You know, her story is not as important as Cloud's story going throughout this.
Yuffie best character, though.
I mean, I love Yuffie. I love all those characters. Like, same thing like Red 13 or something like that.
Sure.
But, specifically with... I love the relationship between the main character Kanata and these are 2 characters that are like right at the beginning of the game, so they're not spoilers. His relationship between Van and Lumina. Lumina is a girl he grew up in this village with, and Van is someone that just kind of shows up. I don't want to say what his story is, but I enjoyed his story because it definitely went ways I did not expect. There are definitely story beats that you will be familiar with if you've played games like Chrono Trigger. There's a few story beats where I'm like, oh, this is Chrono Trigger.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, okay. But
it sounds like those beats though aren't oppressive. Like you're not getting.
I mean, but how many JRPGs have we played where like similar, like you always joke about the hero with amnesia kind of story, thing like that. Yeah. And the thing about like some of this is it doesn't last that long. It doesn't outstay its welcome. You know, maybe it lasts like that whole storyline that I was thinking of in my mind was like maybe an hour. Okay. Maybe.
You did say something that kind of threw me off.
Sure.
And I just need to bring it up.
Yeah.
So, Vaughn from Final Fantasy 12, not a favorite of many, often ridiculed for his character.
Yeah. He gets outshined by the other cast members, I'd say.
Yeah, well, he's in Dissidia, and I was never really... I don't think I ever hated him as much as other people did, but then playing Zodiac Age, I was like, oh, no, he's kind of the worst. And then playing Dissidia, like they have the character introductions, and just he started speaking, and I had like this visceral reaction. In a way that like I typically don't, even with characters that I don't really like. And I was just like, no, like you suck. You really are like as bad as people were saying. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just
there's no characters like that in Lost Sphear where I was like, dude, get out of here, kind of thing like that.
Sure. Is there a mercenary?
A mercenary? No.
Wow.
Tell me the timeline.
Kind of vibe to some character.
So where in the timeline is the Final Fantasy?
But I noticed about this game is I don't know if I should even bring that up actually, story stuff. But one mechanic, a big thing to this game that I'm since it had nothing with is like almost like Xenogears mechs. So you get these things called Volco suits in the game that are essentially like mechs you can wear in combat. You can put them on whenever you want. You can use them outside of combat to walk around and like break rocks or something like that.
Cool.
Hype level going way.
Yeah. So with these mechs, each character gets their own mech, and each character's mech has a specific like attack set that's different for each character. So like with Kanata, he has like team up attacks. So you have your cross slash, like a few other attacks. One of the other characters, you could like chain attacks together so they can do like 3 in succession. They all have like a little different spin on combat for them because like they all have their, you know, like different attacks. Everyone has different attacks compared to each other, but this just adds a little more with the mech suits. So when you're wearing the mech suits too, you do some more damage with some of your attacks, but you have a meter that drains every time you use your attack. So if you run out of meter, you can't do anything. You could change out of the mechs in combat if you wish though. So if you use it all, you can just switch out, and to get it back, you can just rest that in or use an item. So it adds a little more depth to the combat, especially in like, you don't really need it. Most of the time I beat the game on normal. There's also easy, normal, and hard. Maybe on harder, it's like you want to use these more.
Sure.
I used it mostly on boss fights, and I did notice a difference. So I was planning ahead. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use my vocal suit here. You could also put a character in a suit, and you can have a character out of a suit if you want. So not everyone has to be in a suit at the same time.
I feel like you've done a really good job of, if I ever do get around to Lost Sphear, like really keeping my expectations.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a good game, but it's not going to blow you away. If you're looking for some crazy, like, oh my god, I have to play this, this might not be for you. This is a game for fans of the genre who just want to play a good JRPG.
Absolutely. You also made me realize that, like, I always feel guilty that we can't play through games on multiple difficulties because there's just usually there's not enough time.
Yes.
Or we've got other things that we need to get to, and so playing through something twice doesn't seem reasonable, and that's always a shame because anytime I have difficulty in a game, I'm like, really, the things that I'm criticizing, would that be fixed if I was on a higher difficulty? And so that's something that I always doubt myself.
Taking consideration.
But yeah, Huber.
Yo.
You've got something for us. You got a movie for us.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad, because it's been a long time, I think, since we've had something that wasn't a video game on Frame Trap. And it is an element that I know people miss. I miss. Tell me about Cloverfield Paradox.
Cloverfield Paradox. Shadow Drop.
What do you mean Shadow Drop?
It was announced and released during and after the Super Bowl.
Oh.
They announced it. Trailer, like, so... I feel like I have my finger on the pulse when it comes to movies. So I knew that they were making another Cloverfield. So like the fact that it was a thing didn't shock me that much, because it was originally titled God Particle, and then like that was like Cloverfield 3. It was, anyway, the whole thing was under wraps.
Okay.
I thought it was coming out way later. Anyway, they announced it during the Super Bowl out of nowhere, and they're like, yeah, after the game, it's on. So full shadow drop, and that is what I want to talk about. How cool that was to just take part in, like, it was similar to when Bright came out, the Will Smith Netflix movie.
Yeah.
When it's like, all right, it's coming out on this day for everyone. I feel like this was even better because like critics weren't even aware. There were no reviews out for it yet.
Yeah.
It was like everyone was coming in at the same time with an open mind to this one thing. There was no expectations. There was no criticism. And I feel like the window for enjoying the movie is already closed. Because frankly, the movie is okay.
Well,
what made it amazing
was
the fact that it came out of nowhere, and I got to watch this not huge budget, but this big budget science fiction movie from the comfort of my own home. It was just a unique way to consume this.
I think that is so necessary in this Netflix, Hulu, Amazon age, because not all that long ago, being like, oh, there's a new Netflix original, like that was novel, that was exciting, that was different. Like, what are they going to do? How good is it going to be? There's like a new Netflix original every other day.
Yeah,
like that doesn't. You say Netflix original, that means almost nothing to me anymore.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like, and because you have the flexibility of this platform, you need exciting ways for this to happen, and that sounds awesome.
It was really fun, and because 10 Cloverfield Lane is newer, it just came out, and it was amazing. Like, I'm attached to the franchise.
It was good.
Okay.
All right.
I love it.
Okay.
I love 10.
Okay. All right. That's just my opinion.
Anyway, this already, less than 24 hours later, I go online, and there it is, just Cloverfield Paradox, worst in the Cloverfield series. Cloverfield Paradox,
you gotta sidestep that.
Don't waste your time. There's just all the, like, that's out there now, Whereas last night, for the briefest of moments, I could enjoy something with zero noise. There was no noise. There was no, well, this is better. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
It just felt good and refreshing. And granted, the movie was just okay.
Sure.
But it was still fun to take part in that. You
didn't have to read list ranking the Cloverfield.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, though, as somebody who's interested in Cloverfield, Cloverfield is about the mystery. It is about not not completely knowing the threat, and so that's figuring it out makes it all the more interesting. I feel like the more you expand this franchise, the less alluring that mystery gets, or at least it would seem like that on the outside.
Yeah.
Is that something you're worried about?
So, again, I've seen now all the Cloverfields. I'm not, like, obsessed with them. I'm not keeping tabs on the lore and the timeline and whatnot. Especially considering when one came out, it was a standalone thing. They had no plans for this grand franchise universe like they do now with so many products. So it's kind of like they're retroactively going back to the previous two movies to kind of like fill in some, here and there. Mm-hmm. I would say going into this movie not knowing anything is the way to do it. Going blind, and that's what made it so fun last night too. I turned it on, and I had no idea what was coming, what to expect.
Right.
And again, that was so exciting and refreshing. It was like, sure, this is Cloverfield. I'm sure there might be a monster or like a bunker or like who knows. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea what I was getting in for, and it was just refreshing. And some of the story beats are predictable in the movie, and characters do some dumb horror movie stuff. But all the actors were so great and committed that it was just easy to kind of get behind. And some really, really good deaths.
Oh.
Top tier deaths.
That's good.
Yeah.
Brett, you're leaning back in your chair.
Yeah.
Scratching your chin.
Yeah.
How you feel about Cloverfield?
Whatever. Sure. I don't know. I don't need to see it. I'd watch it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I'll watch it, maybe.
No investment.
Or not. Yeah, no investment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing against it.
Hubert, you ultimately decided that it was just okay. So was it not as great as filling in those details, or you mentioned predictability? What was the thing that put it in the okay camp?
Predictability, I would guess. Like, things kind of play out the way you think. Couple dumb decisions by characters. If I'm really nitpicking, it's just okay, right? But the experience of watching it last night, like watching the Super Bowl and knowing, like, dude, I get to watch Cloverfield. Like when I go to bed tonight, I'm gonna throw on Cloverfield. It's a sequel to something that I'm attached to.
Yeah.
There are no reviews. There's no information really. Like knowing the world is kind of watching together. It felt like an event. It felt important. And while I say the movie itself was okay, the whole experience of it shadow dropping and watching it and consuming it was amazing.
But door closed.
Door closed?
On that experience. Like,
it's
too late.
It feels like it's too late. The boat's gone because, you go online and now it's just...
But it wouldn't feel special if that window was bigger than it is.
Exactly.
There's something I want to ask you as an avid horror movie fan.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't really resonate with me. You hear all the time... People be like, oh, why did the character do that stupid decision? If I was in that decision, I clearly wouldn't do that. And to me, it's like, I don't know if I want to see people act optimally or even somewhat optimally in anything. I think kind of the beauty of it is you do have these chaotic and catastrophic situations. Not saying that you can't call a character out for their dumbness, but like, I wouldn't say horror movies are supposed to be ideal scenarios.
Yeah.
Does that ever wear on you, or do you ever think that people are just finding something to latch onto?
It depends. Something like Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
They're inexcusably...
There's a line, so is what you're saying.
There's a line.
Okay.
Like, scientists... Alien Covenant, scientists, where their mission is to, like... colonize a planet to save humanity, gonna be a smart group of individuals.
That's different than a high schooler.
That's different, exactly. That's different than a camp counselor hanging out in the woods. You know, it's totally different.
Sure, I like that.
This movie also had scientists. But I believe in the power of love. I believe in giving so many characters the benefit of the doubt, especially when it comes to love, because love has no logic. It's just is what it is.
Man, this took a turn.
Well, it's like that's why I'm so open to so many characters. Like, I bring up Evil Within 2, just trying to save his daughter, man. Like, I'm behind that. I love that stuff. So, when characters do dumb things out of love, I'm always like, okay, well, they love that person, like, good on them.
I think it depends how it's executed, though.
Exactly.
I could think of moments where I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
And Cloverfield Paradox, you would have been like, what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but again, I just thought it was really fun, and I would like them to do more of this in the future. I think Cloverfield, though, like you were saying, the mystery was the perfect movie to do this with.
Right.
And pros and cons of watching it at your home versus the movie theater. I got to watch it on my own terms in the privacy of my own home, comfortable. But when they're in a spaceship and rockets are... don't have that theater experience, don't have that big screen, that sound. So it's the trade-off, So
I like it. I didn't know what to expect from Cloverfield Paradox, but I feel like you covered a lot of ground there in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So hats off to you.
It's cool.
Brad, boy, we've got another big RPG from you.
Oh, yeah.
We've never talked about JRPGs on the show before,
No,
so it's really
never.
nice to bring up.
I don't even know
bring
what
up
that
this
is.
one. Yeah. No, but you finished, or no, you haven't finished. You're at the end.
Very end.
You're at the very end, so you can speak somewhat comprehensively on Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Here's my history with this franchise, I guess. The first game, played like 3 hours of it. I thought it was the ugliest game I've ever played.
We're talking not
Wii.
You're talking Xenoblade Chronicles.
Xenoblade Chronicles on Wii. I thought it was just hideous. I don't do this ever. Like, I was so surprised, like, this affected me for some reason in time. Whatever was going on in this moment in my life, I just couldn't handle it. And I was like, I cannot do this right now.
Sure.
And I quit.
I think that was when you were just so ready for next gen.
Maybe. Xenoblade was at the end of, like, the Wii. That was, like, the end.
There was a year period where you were just like, dude, I'm over everything. Just give me next gen.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a deeper conversation to be had, but I think that is totally a thing. Where there are a lot of games that came out at the end of a generation or when I was just sick of a console that I couldn't appreciate in the time.
Yes.
But, like, taken out of that context,
yes.
you don't have that weird thing where it's like, why doesn't this look better? I'm ready for the new systems. Sometimes I think it's good to take a step back and just like, no, not right now.
I was not ready for that game at the moment I played it. So,
but
yes.
Bad faces, Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
Dude, like, yeah, that's a Kyle line, like,
in your opinion,
I believe in the bad faces.
Sure. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, though.
Yeah.
We got a lot farther.
Yeah, Xenoblade will immediately with the characters, pretty like your stereotypical anime characters for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Weird thing about this game is like a lot of the characters are designed by different artists, and you could tell in game.
Sure.
Like you could characters
yes,
look
blades, yeah.
like dude, and like even some of the bad guys look way different compared to like the main. It's just really weird. Like
the Nomura leaps out at you.
Yeah, like the Nomura leaps out compared to like Rex, who like they just look like completely different. Like they're not on the same planet. These kind of characters. So
was that a consistent problem with you throughout the game, or
like,
did it kind of meld at some point?
It was just something I thought was funny to myself. Like it's not a deal breaker for me, but I was like, oh, that's weird.
Did you beat it?
I'm at the very end of the game. I will get to why I haven't beat it yet, though.
Sure.
But
far, dude.
It's super long game too, dude. Settle in with Xenoblade, dude. I don't know, like, how am I going to start with talking about this game? Like, I don't want to talk about like the story necessarily, but
what I want to start with is, you've been on a journey with this game.
Yes.
You started your Xenoblade Chronicles experience just thinking it was ugly as sin.
Yes.
Now you're at Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yes.
You're like, fairly typical characters.
Yes.
Did you get more attached? Did you end up liking the story? Did you kind of feel the same
So
throughout?
with this game, I was like, I think 5 hours in, I was so close to just quitting this game and hanging it up forever.
Yeah.
I was like at the point where I'm like, I don't think this universe is for me, these games. I don't think I like any of these. Stuck with a little more. Story started to branch out into directions that I thought were more interesting than what was going on at the time.
It's a tough question, and I'm hesitant to ask it. Without ruining the story, how did the story change that
I would say when they start talking about, when you're finding out more about the past and the blades themselves kind of going on like with
when you learn that there's a deeper history.
Yes, that's when I started getting more interested with like the main villain, like his whole relationship going on,
the Keyblade Graveyard.
The Keyblade Graveyard, yes. Yes.
Was that a big moment for you?
Oh boy! Gotta play the phone game.
Are the blades cool in Xenoblade?
Yeah, there's some really like cool the thing about this game, the rare blades. So there's pretty generic blades, Mike, that they all kind of look the same. They have different weapons. There's rare blades that all are completely different from each other. Like the way they look, the abilities they use. So they're like very like distinct blades.
Do any of them look like a Keyblade?
No.
Like a Keyblade they would use? I don't think any of them like. I can't think.
I think
of
what
like
might be
Keyblade.
tripping you up a little bit is when he's saying blades, they do have weapons, but they're actually characters.
Yeah. So think of like a persona. Think of like a persona.
Yes.
That's what they're called. But they're thinking like a persona, like something that's there with you fighting.
Got it. Like a familiar.
Yeah,
Yes.
kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a stand from JoJo. Like think of like that. Like I think
Got
a
it.
stand is like more accurate.
Yeah.
Got it.
But they do. These blades have their own unique weapons that they're using.
Yeah,
and they're categorized by types.
Yeah, some are better at healing, some are better at
Do you have to
attack.
like fight them to earn the?
No, it's
blade?
not
Not
necessarily.
really.
Like sometimes it's like the system, like how you unlock blades is like super random, Huber. So like you get these like gems or crystals, whatever that are throughout the game. Core crystals, yeah.
Got it.
And you could choose to unlock them, and like what you could like add boosters to them to maybe help you get a specific one or something like that.
They're like these core crystals are essentially packs that you're opening.
You're cracking
and when
packs.
you open them, you will either get like a common blade that is not very distinct, or you'll get a rare blade that has a lot more value to it. And you can kind of, as you're summoning it, you can do things where it's like, no, I want to try to get this specific type of element, because the way that the combo system works is, okay, use this element, I can chain it together with that element, and so you want very specific things a lot of the time.
Yeah, it feels like, so, you know, when you're at a store with a kid, you put a quarter in a thing, you twist it to see what you would get out. That's what it feels like.
Okay.
But it takes so damn long for these blades to come out,
Yes,
man.
it
like
does.
made me
Yes,
not
it
want
does.
to pop or like crack packs, dude. I was like, I don't want to do this because it takes forever for this
Does
to
it
happen.
work when you're not playing, like real time kind of thing, or no?
No.
No.
And that was one of my biggest complaints with the game overall is, Brad, you are totally right that the sheer process of opening the blades, like I always I like letting out a long sigh, like, oh, I've got 26 common core crystals to open, or however many it was. It just took so long. But a lot of things in the game do feel like they take a little long, whether it's like going and harvesting and having that image be up.
Oh
like,
my God,
hey,
dude.
you're going to get more wood or whatever it is. It's just the whole
Yeah, it's
process
super
is
annoying.
too long.
What was I'm sorry. What it was? Xenoblade Chronicles and then Xenoblade Chronicles
X.
X.
Is that connected? Are
But
they connected?
that's not connected.
No.
Okay.
The short answer is no. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
And this is a sequel now to
the
Chronicles
first
1?
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
The way that you can view Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is it is absolutely connected to the first game.
Mm-hmm.
However, you do not need knowledge of that first game to enjoy it.
Yeah, I have like zero knowledge.
Yeah.
So.
That's all I will say.
Yeah.
We're oversimplifying this a lot.
Yeah,
but
like from Xenoblade, I know the Monado, and like that's it. That's
Yeah.
all I know, pretty much.
There are things that
That'll-
will happen that you'll probably see that you might go over your head, but
I'm sure.
it's-
Dude, I'm
Is
sure.
the Monado
it's
the
okay.
best one?
What's that?
The
That always-
Monado
that
was
always
just,
bugs
like,
me.
the main character's weapon in 1.
That always
Well,
bugs
one
me.
doesn't have this blade system.
Yeah.
So this blade
Oh,
system
okay.
is new to
Different.
2.
I was gonna say that bugs me in games when like I think of Final Fantasy VII, the Buster Sword, and you get some like random.
That drives me nuts too.
You get some
Yeah.
random like hard sword. Or
Right.
hard sword +1 or something, and it's like way better than your Buster Sword. It's
Yeah.
just-
It's sharper, dude.
Because you think about that,
Yeah.
the cover art of Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII is just so beautiful.
just
And you
pump
think
it up.
about every representation of Cloud in all other media and all
Yeah.
the spin-offs or whatever, he's always holding the Buster Sword. You barely use the Buster Sword at all in Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII.
I'd say you use it a long time, though, compared to some of the other weapons. Like, you
I
have
know,
that
man.
all throughout Midgar. Through the entire thing. You don't get a new one until you're, like, out of there. That's, like, if you're, like, playing through that for the first time, that's, like, 10 hours, dude. That's longer than most, like, I would say RPGs where you have,
yeah,
like,
but
a
I
weapon.
want to use it against Sephiroth.
I mean, you can. You can if you want. No one's stopping you. But, okay, here's the thing about the Buster Sword is, the Buster Sword, they give context and meaning throughout the games. Like, even, like, the
True,
spin-off
they
games,
keep going back to
they
it.
give you, like,
True.
why Cloud has the Buster Sword
true.
and, like, why he doesn't have it in Advent Children.
Is
I
there?
mean, removing it from Cloud specifically, and I agree with the argument that you're trying to make. Just removing it from Cloud specifically, I get what Huber is saying, where you make a piece of equipment so synonymous with a character,
So iconic,
that
yeah.
it feels weird if you ever reach a point of disposability with
yeah.
it.
So not to be off track, but I was wondering if the Monado, which I've heard
No,
so much about,
Yeah. So the Monado
is relevant.
No, that is not a problem in Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah.
Monado is pretty essential throughout the entire game.
Cool.
And And I would argue it only gets more important over time. And not only in terms of, like, the story makes it extremely relevant, but mechanically, it's very, very relevant.
Dude, Hubert, you would love how they do it in Final Fantasy VIII. Because you like add parts to your weapon.
Nice.
So like you have the gunblade like the entire game.
Very
pretty
cool.
much.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like getting new weapons in JRPGs and games, but when there's something so iconic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Buster Sword is extremely iconic.
Yeah.
Especially because it's so like wacky when you think of like most Final Fantasy characters, what they had of weapons at the time, you know.
Yeah.
A sword, like a normal sword or something like that, and you got this huge sword out of nowhere. Super iconic.
Zack.
Is
Zack in Dissidia?
No, I haven't seen Zack in
DLC.
Maybe, yeah.
He's coming.
Love Zack.
Brad,
Yes.
there's a lot to talk about with Xenoblade.
Yes.
How do you feel about the combat? How do you feel about the
combat's
world?
great. Love the combat. Super in depth. Really satisfying when you like meet certain requirements to do new abilities in combat. So like this whole thing. You do combos and it builds up. You like do combos with. You could do them with your party or whatever. You could do it yourself to like essentially like get this orb or like you'll do a super attack kind of like thing, and it'll like put an orb around a guy. Then you can do like a group attack with everybody doing an attack at this guy to break the orbs, and you can just do. It's almost like a rhythm kind of thing. I feel like when you're doing the combat, which is really cool. It's super involved. Like positioning kind of matters sometimes, or I would say it does matter. Like some attacks are better from the side or whatnot. But
I watched Damiani fight some like raid boss dude, and it looked like an MMO.
One of my criticisms with this game is I feel like some of the battles are just super long.
Yeah,
even with
Damiani
like
was fighting this thing for like an
but like
hour.
not even like a boss. I just feel like the fight takes because they want you to like do all the mechanics in the fight, which I understand, but sometimes it's just like, let's move on.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's not really hard to run away from someone. You can just like put your weapon away and run.
Oh, nice.
But so it's not that bad. But yeah, it's good. It feels because I haven't played the original Xenoblade really, so it feels unique. I would say to most JRPG combats that I'm used to. Like instead of just like clicking a menu, because all your commands here are on like a face button.
Sweet.
So you're not like opening attack or a magic menu, like picking like that.
I would be really curious to get your opinion on it, Huber, because I just think it is something that you would enjoy. It's something that I enjoyed, where you are just essentially building up bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger damage. Like you're launching enemies up to the air, and this voice is going awesome. And so there's just kind of a theatrical presentation behind it that I think. I agree that it can go on a little long, but I think overall is
like
fun
some of the stuff you're doing is awesome.
Yeah.
And like the game even introduces new mechanics like super late into the game. We were talking about one specifically. We're on like near the end of the game. This huge game changer in combat.
Yeah,
now.
it is. It really is.
I'm just like, what the hell?
It is
and
at the end
awesome.
of the game.
It's
and
awesome.
It is a huge mix up with what you're doing.
So the combat's like always fun.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah.
Cool.
Brad, you mentioned early on in this discussion that you were going to tell us why you haven't finished it.
Oh, okay. So here's my biggest gripe with this game. So characters essentially have skills that they can level up in. Like someone's good, like you can level up super strength or something like that, and you have to do certain requirements to level them up.
Yeah.
And sometimes to unlock these things, you have to build up something called trust with your blades.
Yeah.
And you get trust by doing side quests or by like giving them items. But sometimes it just takes a real long time to get this trust up, Huber.
Yeah.
So there's very story-specific parts where you have to go through, but there's a roadblock. Like, I need, like, 5 and some electricity thing to open this door. And I don't have, like, any blades with any of it. And I maybe have one blade with it, actually, who has, like, 1 level. So I gotta grind to get their thing up to get past this gate, almost. It feels like a gate to make you go out and
do side quests.
Yeah. I'm just like, come on, man. I don't want to do this. I'm like, I'm so many hours into this game.
And you just want to finish it
I just want to finish this game, and you're like throwing these like dumb roadblocks in my way.
Yeah, that seems like a bad.
Like it's
that seems like poor design.
Sure.
Because I don't mind when you're rewarded for doing side quests and having all that stuff, but when you're so far into a game, and it's like, well, I hope you were doing this for the last 40 hours because you need it right now. And
no, I completely agree.
What?
It is very weird, and I don't think it would have felt weird if they early on kind of massaged this expectation into you where it's like, hey, you're going to need these things. It is weird, like Brad is saying, where at the end it kind of becomes this roadblock where I had that moment as I was reviewing it where I was like, I want to get through this thing. Oh, I guess I need this. Like, they do kind of. There are optional things that you can get where you want to build up these skills. But the way that they roadblock you at the end, does feel a little bit weird, and you will likely encounter moments where it's like, oh, okay, I guess I need to do this thing to get this.
Better hope I have this blade that can do this. I better hope I get one from this random system.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's super annoying. I hope they do not bring that back, whatever they're doing.
Wow.
You mentioned Zach being in Dissidia. Here's an article, January 12th. Dissidia Final Fantasy NT developers express interest in adding Zach and Delita from Final Fantasy Tactics.
Delita, cool.
Yeah.
I'm always down for... Ramsa's in it, right?
Yep.
Cool.
What is like the...
That's right.
He does like the squats in Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, Zach, he does that all the time.
Crisis Core.
Yeah, he does those in Crisis Core. I think he does them in 7.
Good game.
I can't remember.
I would like...
I want an 8, I want a console version of
Crisis
Crisis Core. Like, how has this not happened yet?
Yeah.
We've got one more game to talk about before we move on to the other segments
quick
of the
thing
show.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I like
Brad.
Xenoblade 2, though. I think it's a really good game.
Yeah.
I just have some gripes with
That was actually going to be my wrap-up question, is... I think it is easy to find the gripes in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fun in there.
Yeah,
a lot of good
overall,
stuff. Yeah, I'm
I had
having
a good
fun.
time.
I had fun, yeah.
But what I wanted to end is, are you more interested in checking out Xenoblade stuff now because of your net positive experience with Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Maybe one day. That game's long as hell, too.
But,
so.
like, if they do Xenoblade Chronicles 3, are you there?
Yeah,
Are you on the train?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
But I am also very, very, very excited to talk about this final game. It's a game that I had picked out as a kid and played to a little bit as a kid, but never really sat down and got all the way through. I think like last year or the year before, I played a little bit of it, but hit this wall where I was like, I don't really want to do this right now. But now I'm committed. I'm about halfway through.
Rainbow Six.
Nope.
Splinter Cell.
Age of Empires.
Onimusha Warlords.
Oh, dude, sick.
What?
Yeah.
Sick.
I'm about halfway through Onimusha Warlords.
Yo,
1.
wait till you get to 2, bro. Talk to me.
It is a series that I've always been intensely interested in. Like I said, picked at on the sides, rented from Blockbuster. I remember
Hell
that
yes.
specifically.
I think I borrowed yours.
Hell yeah.
But when I
first games
tried to
around.
pick it up last time, I think the thing that I wasn't expecting is in this game, you play as Samanosuke. You play as this warrior, and you get these different elemental weapons, and you can power those up. You can also power up this thing that you're going to need to get through certain doors, and it's kind of
I
a
always
little
do
bit
that
of,
first. I hate that thing.
Right. And so I just wasn't expecting it the first time through, and I got to this door where it's like, okay, you need to level up this thing. I was just like, I don't really
want to do that.
I felt like my momentum was being stopped. But now that I picked it up and know that is going to be a thing, it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that long. I think I was just so caught off guard
that
I just wasn't willing to do it at the time. But now I am. And I am really, truly surprised at how well this game holds up. It is a game that I think is both beautifully simple and just like complex enough that I'm really into it. And so the way that they kind of evolve the enemies, where basically you're fighting these simple undead warriors, then you're fighting like these ninja guys that flip around.
Who are awesome, by the way.
The
standard dudes with the hats are sick.
I think that is something that needs to be set out the gate, is just in general, everything is kind of awesome and imposing.
Good down stab in the game, I remember.
The finishing blow.
Yeah, love that.
But yeah, the way they evolve these enemies, and everything is happening so quickly. Like, burning through this game, things are happening so fast. The enemies, you have the basic guys, you have the ninja guys, then you get like these big samurai guys that, out of nowhere, they just start grabbing you. Yeah. And you don't expect that. You haven't seen that before. Then you get these tentacle guys where they'll stick their arms in the ground and the tentacles will come after you and you have no idea what's happening. And then you go and you fight them and they split up. And so just the sheer variety that you're experiencing is really, really cool. And we were talking about the puzzles. And I think you kind of have very typical things where it's like, okay, you have to put this key together to put it in this door to move on.
Do that water one.
Very Resident Evil-esque. But there are moments that I wasn't expecting that I thought were really cool, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you've got to get through these barriers. You have to switch between these two different characters. Now I'm at a point where I'm playing as this character on her own. I wasn't expecting that. That's really cool. And so you just have this game that's like kind of overflowing with ideas. And the combat's like pretty simple. I mean, for the most part, you're just blocking, you're dodging, you're hitting square to slash through these guys. But I think because you're getting new weapons, so you start with a fairly basic sword, then you get a much bigger sword, and then you get dual blades.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
the speed of attacks and how you're attacking. Yeah, the wind is so good.
Yeah.
I think the wind might be my favorite like magical power.
Yeah.
So each of these weapons also has a magical element to them. Your kind of basic sword has lightning. Your bigger one has fire.
Oh, that one's so fun too, though. The
lightning
one.
and then the bolt comes
so
down.
Fun.
Yeah, it's
Was
really
this
good.
after Devil May Cry?
No.
No, it was near launch on PS2.
Okay.
Onimusha
I want to
1.
say it was before.
It was
Okay.
like real close to
But
launch.
I'm not sure on that.
Oh man, dude, the vibe in Onimusha 1 it's so like horror. The vibe in this
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
it's so great. It reminds me of Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, it's the three pillars of Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, and Onimusha. They
yeah.
are all
Glorious.
They are all related.
Do you know if it was before DMC1 or not? Because DMC1 was very early as well.
I feel like it was before.
Okay, that's my feeling as well, but I'm not 100% sure.
Really close to PS2 launch, like 2001.
I think it was 2001.
Yeah,
was
sounds
Onimusha
familiar.
Warlords, yeah. But I think Devil May Cry 1 was also
Dude.
2001.
Oh man, 2. When you get to 2 also. Love
You
2.
excited about 2?
I love 2.
2 and 3.
Mike
I'm
knows.
kind of emotionally attached to Samanosuke, and I know you don't play
Oh, don't worry,
Samanosuke.
dude.
Okay,
Jubei
all right.
is sick.
Okay. But yeah, I want to go through all of them because I'm having such a good time.
Dude, yeah, Ben, I want to play through Onimusha now.
Yeah, it's great.
Where's that remaster?
I am really, truly amazed at how well it holds up. But I think it's really
Barely
easy
beat it. January 2001
for Onimusha,
for Onimusha,
Okay.
and August 2001
for Devil May Cry.
Oh, so they're side by side of the studio.
I think kind of the criticism that I've seen, and I think the easy thing to laugh at is it's just like, well, it's kind of Resident Evil with samurai, and
Yeah,
like
that's a plus for me.
right.
Yeah.
That's a plus for me.
Fixed cameras,
Yeah.
pre-rendered
It's why-
backgrounds.
It's great.
It's why it's like we're so reductive in our comparisons, where it's like, yes, that's true, but that can be spun in a way where you can take that idea on a face value and make it way more interesting. And I think that's what this game does.
They did it with the weapons system. Like that's a huge standout thing. Yeah.
It's very different. This combat feels completely
Yeah.
different. Just the environment, the enemies, the way that those enemies attack. And I have to give a special call out to the environment, and I think it is something
Oh
that
my god. Yes.
I do think is very cool in Resident Evil, right? Where you think about Resident Evil 1, you think about the mansion. You know, I'm obviously preaching to the choir here, but the way that it starts out and how nested it is and how weird it gets, but it all feels really connected. That is what Onimusha is like, and I love this like slow descent into madness where you have this keep. It is as you would expect in this feudal Japan era, but you're getting deeper and deeper, and you get into these dark rituals and this summoning and these demons, and it just gets more twisted over time.
Have you met the like demon doctor yet?
Is it the
Kind of looks like a.
is it kind of like a an alien looking guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I've met him. He's got a great voice. A lot of this characters are really good. The guy in the save room that just like drops down and is like, and the game is like,
He's
hey,
like
don't worry
wrapped
about
up.
the game is just straight up. He's just so weird and creepy. Kind of reminds me of Pepe from Tabletop Escapades. But the game is just like, hey, don't worry about this guy right now. And I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Oh, you don't know what happens with that stuff?
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
Not with that weird hanging dude specifically, because the game just straight up is saying, "Don't worry about it." Cool. But I'm excited. Maybe I can finish it tonight. I don't know. But
finish it.
It is good. It is a series that like I was always intensely interested in, but I think your constant enthusiasm for it really pushed me over the edge, and I'm glad that you did, because truly I am having a great time. I'm having a great time.
I feel happy now.
I just think it's such like all the Resident Evils have been remastered.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry has been remastered and is getting remastered again.
Well, yeah.
And Resident Evil has been remastered so many times, so many of them.
Yeah.
Onimusha, dude.
I don't know what the deal is.
Where in the world is just like... I'll take a PS3 remaster of it at this point. You know what I mean? PS5 is so
you bust
close.
out the PS3.
Like, honestly, give us a PS3 remaster. Just any way. Like,
I think you would understand it more if I didn't feel like Onimusha stacks up as well as it does, but I think it compares like pretty favorably.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I enjoy it more than Devil May Cry, but like it's not like the C tier. Like it's a really cool game.
Yeah, it can stand up
with
with its family.
Yeah. There was something I wanted to say, and maybe it will. I don't know if it'll help you guys, but maybe it'll help some viewers. Where I kind of get into this rhythm where, like, I'm really overwhelmed with reviews right now, working on so many things, not just with reviews, but other things. And I think for my own sanity, sometimes it's nice for me, like, to get into, like, a GameCube kick, because I played through Pikmin, played some Metroid Prime. now I'm like kind of in a PS2 kick.
Yeah.
And that just feels good. Sometimes you just got to detach yourself and you got to go back to the simple things.
Absolutely.
And that feels really good. Yeah.
Simpler times.
Simpler times. Huber, it is good to appreciate the simple things. Brad, it's good to appreciate the simple things, especially with all of the big RPGs you've been playing, Brad. But you know what I always like to appreciate? HOTTAKE! You knew it was coming.
I knew that one was
It was
coming.
coming.
Didn't get me
Not
that
as
time.
good as last episode's, but because I think the thing is, like, now I'm trying to incorporate it into natural sentences, but you're kind of picking up on that. So you gotta
I was
find
ready
new
this time.
ways. You gotta find new ways of mixing it up.
Like, just be doing a sentence and, like, mid-sentence just go, HOTTAKE!
That happened last time better.
Yeah.
They can't all be winners, Brad.
Yeah. Maybe sit next to Huber next time, too, and just yell in his ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll get him.
You get me.
Was that piercing to your ear?
No, I'm used to it.
Okay.
I usually sit next to you, so I'm used to the HOTTAKEs.
I really, there's something that's on my mind. It's weighing on me pretty heavily. And, I've been with Easy Allies for a long time. We've all been with Easy Allies for a long time. We've been doing this. We're not new at this anymore. And I think about how we talk about games and the things we get excited about. You know, we do a lot of predictions, and we do a lot of favorites at E3. And we just did big 2018 predictions. And a lot of what we're talking about are sequels to things that we already love.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a lot of sense. I think when you're building anticipation, when you have an idea in your mind, like, oh, hey, I want more of that thing, versus what new experiences could there be?
It's hard to get hyped on something you don't know about, or something you can't even get your head around.
Right, absolutely. I completely agree with that. But at the same time, we're living in an age where a lot of good stuff is coming out, and we do have to pick. I think if you've been following Easy Allies, you're probably shaking your head, and it's like, why aren't they covering this? Why aren't they talking about that? We have to pick and choose as much as we don't want to, as much as I want to cover as many things as we possibly can. We do have to pick and choose. And I find that a lot of times we're picking things that we already know we love. Yes. Is that dangerous? Are we shaping the conversation? Are we ignoring new things? Are we closing the door in ways that we shouldn't be because we're so focused and because we're getting so many sequels? And in fact, are we feeding even more sequels?
I would say we are closing the door on some things but at the same time, there's just so much out there that it's impossible for us as 9 people to cover everything. We don't have a huge staff like some other places that can cover, where we don't have like freelance or anything like that. So yeah, I feel like some stuff does get lost in the shuffle. I would love, if we could, definitely cover more, but sometimes like a bunch of stuff just comes out at one time.
Sure. But do you think, obviously we have to make decisions, but do you ever think we should remove ourselves from the moment a little bit and not go with our first impulse and kind of collectively come together and be like, hey, let's take a different approach here.
Sure,
let's cover maybe the unexpected things.
Yeah, it depends on it, but it's a case-by-case basis to me. Like, when Red Dead 2's coming out, it's like, we should probably cover Red Dead, but like, if there's this small little like indie game that maybe is cool, we don't know, but like, we're probably going to take Red Dead over that.
Huber, you're somebody that... you've talked a lot like about Shenmue 3, for instance. That's something you really love. And something that could stand to get more attention, you could argue. But as somebody who loves a lot of series so dearly, is this something that you worried about? Are you ever feeling like maybe you're not giving new things enough of a chance?
Absolutely not. I love new things. I love new games, new IPs. But this does happen in certain situations where clearly... if I have the choice to catch up on something that I'm deeply committed to and invested in, say Kingdom Hearts 2.8, which I finally started Dream Drop Distance. I've been going through these games. I really like Kingdom Hearts. I'm getting ready for 3, but I'm playing that over Valkyria Chronicles, something that I know I'll love, something that you guys have told me to play so many times, but that is a specific situation where... the only reason I'm playing one over the other is because it's a sequel and because it's an established thing that I'm already connected to. So it does happen in certain situations, but again, there are so many times where I have a sequel or something, but a brand new thing comes out that I've never played, and I'm like, dude, I want to play this. You know, like even smaller games like Ruiner came out. It's like, dude, this looks sick. I'm going to play Ruiner over other games that I'm even more, attached to. to try this new thing.
So let's go back to the Valkyria Chronicles thing. Do you think a lot of it has to do with familiarity, where a lot of times when I make decisions, it's not just, okay, I have to play through this thing, but sometimes it's also, I have to learn how to play this thing. And that becomes an additional barrier, preventing me from favoring that over something that maybe I understand a little bit more readily.
That can happen sometimes, but it goes both ways. Like I've taken so long on Dream Drop Distance because every time I play a new Kingdom Hearts, I got to learn the new mechanic, whatever the hell it is, petting some Tamagotchi creatures. I'm like,
Dream Eaters.
Even the familiarity of Kingdom Hearts still stresses me out.
Sure.
Versus learning a whole new thing. But I think the biggest thing is, for me, how do I put this in words? I feel like it's okay in certain situations to play the familiar if something is coming out that's relevant to it. That didn't sound good. Basically, I'm going back to play Kingdom Hearts because 3 is coming out. Or going back to play God of War because the new one is coming out, you know? Like, playing and catching up on franchises that you're familiar with versus new games that you're not as familiar with because a sequel is coming out for that franchise. You know what I mean?
I always have a pretty sobering moment that really removes me from myself and part of, like, places me into this group where it's like, oh no, like, people are listening to us. I think it's easy to forget when we're in Brandon's garage and it's just us and a camera. That's like, oh, there's an audience there.
Yeah.
People are listening. People in the industry are listening. They're on some level, and I'm not trying to overinflate our importance. I don't want to do that. But I think on some level, you have to account for a certain amount of influence. So the things that we choose to cover, as much as the things that we choose to ignore, sends a message, whether we like it or not. Like that, by doing this job, that is what we're committing to. Does that ever worry you? That maybe you're not sending the message that you want to be all the time?
I would say the biggest thing I regret is not being able to play every single horror game that comes out.
Why is that? Why horror specifically?
I love horror. One of my favorite genres. I feel like the Allies as a whole enjoy horror, but we don't cover those smaller horror games that come out. There's a lot that come out like on Steam and early access and even on, like, full releases just on Switch, and someone at the Q&A recommended that Classroom game on Switch. So I wish I could put more of that out there, coverage of these horror games that slip through the cracks.
So what stops you?
The job, working on other stuff, going from game to game to game to game.
Your own sanity.
Yeah.
Do you ever think, though, that maybe shining a light on that stuff could be even more impactful than the work you're doing right now?
Sometimes, but usually not, because it's like, well, I'm working on PUBG right now. What's more important than that?
Sure.
Working on another game next time, like a brand new game that is coming out, maybe hit embargo on that. That seems important.
Right.
It's just always...
And trying to be as timely as possible is important, and hitting those things that are a big part of the conversation is important. But do you think that maybe that responsibility could be shuffled to other people, whereas, like, your focus and your perspective on these horror games couldn't be shuffled around as easily? So maybe is it like a process of who's getting what that could be...
I feel like it's real hard to anticipate what is important, though.
Sure.
I feel like that is extremely difficult and taken for granted, maybe. Like, the big games, obviously, the sequels, the franchises, like, where that stuff's getting shoved down our throat, and franchises that we're invested in, we pay more attention to. Whereas the smaller games, they just show up. Iconoclasts and Celeste. These are games that showed up overnight. Like, we couldn't plan ahead. We didn't have this in advance of, like, yo, Celeste is coming out on this day, so let's have that review by embargo. Like, those games just appear, and it's our job to hopefully pick up the pieces. But as fast as the industry moves, by the time I hear about these games, it feels too late. So all I can do is kind of plan ahead, and planning ahead really only seems to work for the big games.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that is actually a really smart point. Yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
No. I was going to say, he was right.
Because with Celeste in particular, there was a Nintendo Indie event that I went to last year, and I played Celeste, and I thought it was really good, but it was hard to understand that it would be as good as it was, because it's like, here's this tiny, 10-minute demo.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of potential there, but it's hard to evaluate. And I feel like when we get to our E3 impressions, a lot of it is like that, where it's like, based on this tiny amount, we can only give you this much.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're talking about a big game, say Red Dead Redemption 2, well, it's like, well, here's everything from the first game. Here's what we want to stay the same. Here's what we want to change. There's just so much more material to work off of. And with a ton of games coming out, you do have to plan ahead. You do have to try to schedule things as much as possible. But does that mean we need to be a little bit more flexible? Do we need to pivot in the moment a little bit better? Or do we, when we're scheduling things out, do we need to like account for potential Celestes?
I don't know how we could. We're all just strapped, like we're all.
I mean, it's like we're all not doing something.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time, or if ever, I felt like anyone in Easy Allies was wasting time. You know what I mean? I don't feel like there's been a moment where it's like, well, we could have reviewed that. It's like, well, someone was covering something else at the time, or the thing. I feel like we are doing our best in that sense, and and I feel like there's just kind of there's kind of a luck element in terms of who's covering what in the moment and who discovers what in the moment, and if we get a code in time, if there's so many underlying factors. Like if
that is something that people don't realize.
Yeah, if Bloodworth gets a code 3 months out for a game, we're gonna get that. But if dude, I have a review that is coming up real close. Like, I'm reviewing Kingdom Come Deliverance. That game comes out in like a week.
Yeah.
Still don't have a code. That game is going to be like 50 plus hours, I have a feeling.
That happens all the time. And I don't want to call out all publishers equally, but it's really frustrating to me when it's like, okay, we're planning on reviewing this. We're trying to communicate with them. Blood is doing an excellent job of keeping everybody in the loop. And it's like, okay, well, here's this 50-hour game. You have 3 days. And it's like, this is not reasonable or even should be expected to be done with this time, because that's a bad evaluation.
Yeah, and I would say when we review games, we don't want to necessarily rush through it.
Yeah.
Because it could sour the game for you if you're spending 13 hours playing a game straight.
Right,
it could ruin the game for you.
Right, like, it's like, hey, we played this game 15 hours a day every day. That's not going to be your experience.
Yeah.
And that might change how we feel about it overall, exactly what you're saying. However, kind of going back to the question at hand, at what we're choosing to highlight, and I know this has been a topic of HOTTAKEs before, but I really want to drill down and ask, like, can we do it better? Because there are things like the Game of the Year Awards, which we just got through. And there were so many games, SteamWorld Dig 2, I think even Horizon, Cuphead, games that I genuinely loved and had so many good things to say about, that didn't fit this arbitrary list of 10 or this category or things like that, where we're taking these things and we're limiting them. And you say that we're pressed for time, so when we're choosing to highlight things, be it Game of the Year Awards, be it podcasts, be it shows, could we do a better job? Could we get more and make those discussions more meaningful than we are currently?
Go ahead.
I feel like we can't have it both ways. Like, I work on movie stuff also with Ian, and we do podcasts, so it's like, maybe if I scrapped my show and like movie podcasts and D&D, then that would free up a lot more time to cover the games that may slip through the cracks. But it's like, to cover all the huge games and to talk about stuff on podcasts and to talk about movies and to have, my own show and to stream on top of that, to do all that stuff, it's not feasible to be able to cover every single game. It's just impossible, So I'm really proud of you guys and proud of Easy Allies for the amount of coverage and the amount of videos and the amount of hours of content we pump out. I don't want to tap ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
But like, for 9 of us to have some homegrown operation to cover as much as we do, I think we're doing a damn fine job. And I know, Ben, it frustrates you more than anyone, just when games slip through the cracks, and you want that coverage to be out there.
Right.
You want our opinion to be out there. You want people to read it and watch it to be educated on it.
Right.
But just the nature of the business and how it doesn't stop for anything and how it keeps moving so fast.
Yeah.
We cover what we can cover.
I think this is why these questions keep coming up on the HOTTAKE so much for me personally, just because it's something I wrestle with, because I think that balance is really elusive, where I do think there are actually areas that we could be covering better naturally in a way that wouldn't really break us. I think we could be a little bit more mindful of what we're choosing to reference or what we're choosing to comment on, and like just be a little bit more open-minded and cast a wider net. But at the same time, like, we're not machines. I don't ever want to be machines. I don't want to be like, okay, and that's in the early days of game trailers, and I know this is true of other gaming publications. That is the mandate. The mandate is you cover everything. Cast that wide net, bigger audiences, more
embargo,
people.
Boom.
And I honestly think, like, having kind of worked under that mindset, that leads to worse coverage.
I agree.
I think you have to, like, acknowledge your own humanity at some point. You have to say, all right, I think it is good to be open-minded. I think it is good to challenge yourself. But at the same time, I'm also a human being. I like certain things. I don't like other things. I have natural biases. Like, obviously, you should try to improve, but you shouldn't sanitize yourself either.
Yes.
I think those things that make you and those tastes add a lot to it. That's where the flavor comes in. That's where the interesting part comes in, right? Yeah. Like, your obsession with Resident Evil is interesting because you're so devoted to it, and I wouldn't want to take that away. But I just also... I feel like we're in a really precious time with games right now, and I keep saying that. I keep saying things that are similar to that, but we're getting things that I never thought we would get. Like, it is mind-blowing to me that something like Nier Automata exists, or that Divinity Original Sin 2 is as good as it is, or all of these things, or that, like, we're talking about Yakuza, or Yakuza feels part of the conversation the way that it is, and I just don't want to get back to a point where it feels like things are dying because they're not given the proper attention, because we're ignoring them, because we're not challenging ourselves enough to do that. And sometimes I worry about that with VR, where I think it's really easy to take the case with VR where it's like, oh, well, it's, going through its thing, and there are just so many avenues that we can look at. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I remember during the 360 PS3 generation where things felt a little stifled, where we were getting a lot of the same thing and a lot of it was boring. It's not as exciting. It wasn't as diverse as it feels right now. And that's something that I think is precious.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about, like, people come to us and it's readable that, like, Bloodworth is the racing guy or you're the horror game guy. Do you think it is good for us to stick to those things that we're already familiar with, or should we push ourselves with new areas of coverage, new genres? How valuable is it to have Brad review the next racing game instead of Bloodworth?
I mean, we kind of did that. Like, I reviewed Call of Duty this year. Like, I usually don't do that kind of thing like that. But, like, yeah, I mean, I think it's great to always branch out and try new things that you might have not tried, something like that, because you might find something really special and hidden that you might, like Celeste or something like that. But you're talking about VR, like, there's so much out there, it's impossible for us to reach everything. For 9 of us, it's impossible. And not everyone here reviews games either.
Right.
Like, if we're just talking reviews, like, there's, like, 5 of us maybe.
Yeah.
Pretty much 4 now, because I don't think Jones reviews that much. But there's like 5 or 4 of us. We're always doing something.
And like Bloodworth, before each month goes through the entire list of games that's coming out that month. But again, not every game is on that list because they're smaller games. And those are the games that slip through the cracks. Like, we're doing our best to plan ahead because, once again, Blood goes through the entire list of games.
With us, yeah.
We talk it out, see who wants to cover what. He interfaces with publishers, PR, gets the codes, but for the games that are not on that list, that are coming out of early access or indie and ones that we just don't know about, like, those are always going to slip through the cracks.
And some games are not 5 hours, you know? Some games are 30 hours, like, or Divinity, like 60 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
So it takes longer to do longer games like that.
For sure. I just, I think it's bad to have things already compartmentalized. Like, I sometimes think Bloodworth gives us that list of games coming out, and we already kind of placed them, where it's like, okay, this game is an indie game. It's going to get this level of coverage. It's going to be talked about this much once. It might be on Frame Trap once. It might get a stream or a stream, and then we're going to be done with it before we even play it. And I think that's the mentality that I want to fight against is being too sure too quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because think about the conversations that we have. Think about the conversations that we have after group streams where it's like, okay, you're going to do this with that. And it's like, we haven't even played the game.
Yeah.
Is that something we can improve upon? Or is that mentality necessary with at what Brad was saying, what you were saying with the amount that we have to get through? And
it's kind of like subconscious, right?
Sure,
like,
that's what I'm saying. But
yeah,
don't you think it's good to be aware of that subconscious?
Totally.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as you're aware of it.
Like we should always be striving to improve. Like we should never be comfortable like with what we're doing always 100%.
Yeah.
Like we should be confident in what we're doing, but we should definitely try to challenge ourselves and do something outside of our box, which we try to do like every now and then. Like, yeah, we're not perfect at it, but we're aware of a lot of this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like it's hard to get more excited for Code Vein than God of War. Yeah. Like sometimes you just gotta make a choice, even though you haven't played either of them.
Right. And it's
am I gonna play One Chambra or something like that over like a Ni no Kuni too?
Yeah. And it cuts both ways because anytime somebody says, hey, I played a demo of a thing, and this actually happened with Monster Hunter World. Somebody's like, I was playing the beta, I wasn't really feeling that, and I kind of like rebuked them, and I'm like, well, you're not really getting the sense of it. But at the same time, people can only do so much. If you give me a free slice of something, and that's not a good slice, or that doesn't sell me, or that's not a good representation, it's really hard to be too mad at the person that they didn't get the full representation of what was there. Like, that's what you're choosing to market yourself. However, I just think from a journalistic side, and we do it too, we're guilty of it too. I think about like Dragon's Dogma, and I think about the early reporting, or at least my memory of the early reporting of Dragon's Dogma, and they're like, it's kind of like Monster Hunter with a twist, and you see this shit all the time, right? It's like X with a twist, or it's this cross that.
Yeah.
I don't think shorthand is bad. Shorthand is useful. These things that we don't understand, we're trying to place them in understanding
Get an idea of
terms.
what it is, yeah.
I just hate it when that's where we end, you know? And like, not everything's Dark Souls, not everything's Monster Hunter, not everything's Mega Man or Mario or whatever. And I just want to challenge us to be less reductive. That's all. We do it too. I do it too.
I want to review
But
a Nintendo game.
you should review a Nintendo game. Now let me ask you
I don't know
this.
if I've reviewed a Nintendo game either.
Do you
It's because
feel...
Damiani and Bloodworth have a stranglehold on them, dude.
Okay. All right, let's challenge that. Do you think it's actually a stranglehold, or do you think it's a lack of you speaking up?
Maybe both.
Maybe both?
Yeah, I think both. I think it's just automatically assumed that Damiani and Bloodworth are gonna.
Like, what if you say, I'm reviewing the next Zelda?
Like, I feel like that is a futile statement. Like, there's no hope. There's
Right,
no
but what if
hope.
Damiani said, I'm reviewing the next Uncharted or Last of Us Part 2? That would sting.
Then he'd be like, yeah, then there's no hope for him.
So do you think in terms of who reviews what, this is a question I've already asked, but obviously we have people who are passionate about it, and I think people who are passionate and knowledgeable about it, in addition to him really wanting to do it the most, probably, the next Zelda, he is also inarguably the most knowledgeable, which I think takes priority.
And that is such a debate, I feel like, that will never be finished. One of those things where you're either on one side or the other. Do you want the reviewer to be an expert or a completely blind for the game? I think that's just a matter of opinion.
And both sides are valuable.
And both sides are valuable.
And you can never cover both at the same time.
Exactly.
And you got to pick a side.
But
that's why Famitsu's so cool. They do the four people.
But I think like we could
pros and cons.
We can kind of fill the gaps on that side with doing this. How I was talking about Xenoblade 2 with you.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with Xenoblade. I was not. We're just kind of talking about it. Like you're getting more opinions, and you might not like. The review is one person's opinion mostly, or it is. But like on some side things, you might get more opinions on it.
Yeah.
Like, but if you want an actual review, it's like one person's.
I just think for you and Huber and whoever it is, don't let things be decided ahead of time. If you want Yoshi, Huber, take it, man. Grab it out of the air and review it.
Yoshi!
Or whatever it is. Or Brad, whatever you're feeling. There's a lot of overlap.
Kingdom Hearts 3, who's taking that one?
Oh, I kind of want Damian to take that. I don't want to touch that.
Too close?
I just want to enjoy my time with it.
Sure.
I don't want to burn through that game real fast.
Yeah,
I just want to enjoy. I've waited so long, dude. I want to enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Put your critique.
But if it was my job to do it, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
But if someone else will do it, that's cool.
There are definitely times, like, Huber, you're taking Yakuza 6, and it's a pleasure reviewing Yakuza games, but it's like, man, like, I can just play Yakuza 6 and there's nothing else to come afterwards.
Exactly.
And that feels really good, too.
I did 5, you did 0, now I'm doing 6, so you do 7.
Well, whatever.
I'm doing
cross that
7.
bridge. Yeah, let Brad do it. Whatever. It's fine.
I'm doing God of War. Sorry, bud.
Do it.
Are you guys ready for
Do
some
it up.
emails? The one that I could see you just like gritting teeth would be Last of Us Part 2. Like I don't see
I'm just
that.
like, I'm doing Shenmue 3, all right?
All right, we're ready for some emails.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an old one.
Last of Us.
What a classic.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Nice and innocent.
Yo, Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2.
That's 2019, probably?
Yeah. 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
This is fair.
It's going to be the end of PS4, like one was.
June 2019. Or July.
First email comes in from Patrick. With a berserk icon. I like it.
Ooh. Who is
He says,
it?
"Hey ho."
Guts.
Oh, it's the
It's just
symbol.
the
The brand.
The brand. Hey ho, allies. Since we are fond of memorable stories, not only in video games, I'd like to pose the question if any of you have suffered from a phenomenon known as post-series depression, or how to put it more general, post-narrative depression. You may probably already know what I'm referring to, but still, to clarify, allow me to use the definition by Urban Dictionary. Also, please feel free to ignore that the use of the term depression is quite exaggerated here. Post-series depression is the sadness felt after reading or watching a really long series or story. The bitter feeling when you know the journey is over, but you don't want it to end. I do think that some TV shows or books, especially Harry Potter, are guilty of creating some pretty heavy PSD, but I'd like to hear if the panel has ever suffered from it by finishing a video game. For me personally, games like Persona 3 through 5, Metal Gear Solid 3, Danganronpa 1 through 3, Virtue's Last Reward, and Final Fantasy 9 come to mind.
Persona 5. Just happened. I want to be back with those characters so bad. I think about them all the time still.
Is that longing so difficult that it's hard getting engaged with other things?
No, but sometimes in my brain, I'm just like, I'll even be playing Monster Hunter, like looking at some tracks, and my mind will just like go to the cafe in Persona.
You'll think of Sojiro.
And I'll just think about it. Like, I wonder what Sojiro's doing right now. Just, I miss it. I really miss that game. It took me 100 hours, and I still think about it, miss it, want to go back to it. Granted, would I start a 100-hour game and play through it again? Maybe not yet. Maybe down the line. But I think that's what's so hard is like, I want to be back hanging out with them, but I don't want to replay a 100-hour game again. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
It's so linear.
I
guess
it's not that
like,
you want to do it
different.
again. You just don't, like, there's a gate, right, where you have to. It's the end. You just want that gate to be lifted. And you want to keep going.
Yes.
You want to ride in that car with them.
Whereas something like The Witcher 3, which I had a similar feeling with, of like, after Blood and Wine, it's like, dude, I miss it so bad. I just want to be there. Witcher 3 is a little different because you can just hop in that open world.
Yeah, explore.
Ride around, get your taste.
Yeah, sometimes I think about like Breath of the Wild and I just want to walk around Hyrule or something like that.
Yeah. Longing for the environment.
Yeah. That's usually where I fall in more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you, Brad, where I definitely felt it with Breath of the Wild, where that sense of mystery is what I longed for so much of the unknown, of that excitement of seeing the things in the sky. But I actually feel it more acutely with movies and television shows. I think particularly with television shows, like getting really into Westworld, and just I think the reason why I feel it more acutely is with games. I can be tickled in different ways, right? Like playing a fighting game gives me a different sensation than playing a really long RPG, which gives me a different sensation than like something like Life is Strange, where because I can juggle through so many things, and not that there aren't genre differences in television shows, but I think when you really get attached to like a drama, that is a big umbrella, and it's just like, no, I want this specific style of thing.
When Boardwalk Empire ended, missed it. I still miss it.
And you're also comparing everything else against it, which really drives me nuts. Like there are times where I'll start a movie and it's like, nope, this is not as good as the thing that I want more of. And I'll quit it. I don't know if you do that.
Even Black Mirror, when Black Mirror just ended. Oh my goodness. For a month there, I was consumed by at least I couldn't think about anything else other than Black Mirror. And I just wanted new episodes. I was like, dude, just give me one more episode. I just need one.
See, the weird sensation with me and Black Mirror is I loved it. I ravenously consumed it. But there were some episodes, particularly in the last season, where I'm like, this is honestly the most depressing thing I've ever seen. Like, I know it's going to be good. Yeah. I know it's going to make me think.
Yeah.
But I just can't.
One of the most effed up moments I've ever seen on screen is in the new season of Black Mirror.
Yeah, no, sometimes I just need a release. Sometimes I just need a little cat's making me food, you know?
Which used to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but now Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like super heavy. And I'm just like, go easy. Go easy.
But you know what Yakuza does? The push and pull, man.
The balance.
Tears and laughter.
All
at once.
All the emotions.
Yeah. I remember beating Twilight Princess and remember being real bummed it was over.
Yeah, totally.
I was real bummed about that. I think I get more upset, though, when something doesn't get finished. That's when when I'm waiting for something to finish. Like, I've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 forever.
Yeah. I'm at that point with Kingdom Hearts 3.
I think I beat that when I was 18 or 19.
Yeah.
I'm 30.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Age. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out when I was like a sophomore in high school or something.
I was like in my first year of college or something like that.
I want to bring up Breaking Bad, though. Sorry.
No.
Stomp on you guys.
No. Stop.
Because, like, when Breaking Bad ended, I felt good.
Yes.
I felt done.
Right.
And I felt complete.
I was going to bring that up. I think the ending matters a lot.
Yeah.
If you stick the landing, how I feel about it and how much I miss it or can make peace with it depends on the ending.
Like, one thing I made, when it was over, I was like, oh, that felt good, was Metal Gear Solid 4. When it just ended, dude.
Same exact thing.
You mean when it ended for the third time or the fifth time?
I don't know.
When it finally ended.
When 4 ended, all right? When 4 ended, that was the end for me.
Yeah. It's a little joke.
Yeah, and it's just like, that felt real good. That felt comforting. Like, all these years, and it just ended. Payoff, yeah. That felt so good.
What about when the Royal Rumble ended?
Felt good.
Do you miss it, though? Do you crave the Rumble?
High?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Royal Rumble. It's always fun. But if it was so often, wouldn't it feel special?
True.
Our next email is called Trust in the Stars, and this is from Daniel.
Trust the system.
Just because in the December Q&A we talked about switching up the review system. He says, "Hi, allies. Sorry if this is a bit spicy, but I feel strongly about this. I have a comment and question in response to a topic mentioned in the December Q&A about moving to a 20-point review system. I have to say, I passionately implore you to stick with the stars/half stars. The move to the star system was one of the most exciting changes at the birth of Easy Allies for me. I think star ratings are perceived very differently to the classic game industry out of 10 ratings. They are a general mark of quality, not a means to comparatively rank all games against one another with meaningless, minor decimal differences. This surely grants more freedom for the reviewer to use the whole scale without feeling like they are condemning a game. The game industry is extremely guilty of failing to use the whole scale, and this is because we have trained ourselves to believe that 7 out of 10 is the lowest acceptable score. But stars are different. A 3-star score is decent. You probably would stay well away from a game that scored a 6 out of 10, but a 3 stars is still worth a shot, and a 2 star is disappointing, but not a complete catastrophe of a 4 out of 10. I'd be really interested in hearing the Allies' original motivation for moving to the star system and what doubts you now have about it. Is the way the score is directly converted to a classic score by aggregate sites a reason for some allies now doubting the system? Please stick to your stars. It doesn't need more granularity. The broader ranges allows some lesser-known, lower-budget things to stand out shoulder to shoulder with the big boys according to their own merits without a small, meaningless decimal penalty making them seem measurably inferior. I really think it's something you should be proud of. Also, maybe try to use the the stars when rating things on podcasts instead of reverting to doing it out of 10. Embrace the stars is a unique part of the EZA identity.
I love that comment. It's excellent.
The thing I don't like about the stars is people thinking the stars equals a number, and that happens all the time with us. Sure, like 3 stars equals a 7.
Yeah.
That's what I really hate about it. The thing I like about the numbers is it's like I'm fine with the stars too. I found myself giving games like the same score though a lot.
Yep.
Like around a 4-star.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'd feel a little more comfortable if I had just a little more flexibility. Just to emphasize my opinion just a little more in one direction.
Yeah.
But I think like I said, I like the stars, but I think the numbers are just way more, people understand that way better. I do agree about like not using the whole scale. I think it kind of sucks that we're somehow in like a realm where a 7, is like good. Anything else below that, don't even bother, kind of thing.
Man, I love the stars, but I feel like we can't use them.
Yeah.
Because the stars have really taught me to use the whole scale and look at games differently than numbers. I love it. I feel personally like I've done a good job of using the entire scale. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, OpenCritic is going to shit out the number. It's going to, like if I give a game a 3 stars...
7.
6.
6?
It's a 6.
And that doesn't match up with your feelings on the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, we live in their world. You know, if it was just Easy Allies and stars, heck yeah, stars. But now living in the Metacritic OpenCritic universe, where I give a game 4 stars and it's an 8 no matter what.
Right.
There's nothing I can do. And there's nothing I can do at this point.
I feel like the 7 out of 10 thing is already happening. And in 2017, I kid you not, since I've been doing this, there's been no year where the games that I reviewed have been as consistently good as they were in 2017. Like, it was crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, it was rare to get a 3.5 or a 3-star game. Like, and you never want to be like, well, I'm going to give it a lower score because I've given a lot of 4s. That's complete shit.
Yeah.
You have to do what the game deserves, what you feel like it deserves. You have to be honest with it. And that means giving it the appropriate amount of praise that you think it deserves. Mm-hmm. But I think the other thing is, because in addition to the consistently good things, like I gave Yakuza Kiwami 3.5, and people are like, you hated it? And it's like, no, that's exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that becomes frustrating because, like you were saying, if we're giving a lot of 4s, we're giving a lot of 4.5s, that score becomes meaningless because there's no way to evaluate them individually. If like a lot of what we're reviewing is good, then doesn't the question become, well, how good is it? I was hoping that with the stars, there would be a sufficient number of 2-star games, sufficient number of 3-star games, but that's just not happening most of the time.
The games we played were, like you said, last year were crazy year for games.
Right, and I it's not that there aren't a lot of 2-star games or 1-star games even that are coming out. It's just like we had in the HOTTAKE, we're picking and choosing, and the things that we're picking and choosing tend to be pretty good more often than not.
Except the impatient.
Yeah. So it's like, are we going to pick a game just to give a game a lower score? Sure. Or something like that, just to balance it out?
I felt like that's what happened with Bombshell, dude. When I reviewed Bombshell at GT, I felt like I had to review that game in the corporate system just to get a low score out into the ether.
Really?
That's kind of how I felt.
Huh.
Like,
it was a weird game. It was weird because like that you were like, they were...
Because it was 3D Realms and like some people that worked on Duke Nukem. And I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun. Like, off-the-cuff comment.
Yeah.
But then, like, I'm like, I don't really want to review it. I don't really want to cover it. But, like, you know, I was encouraged. Like, oh, just do it. And it just felt like one of those times where it was like, well, yeah. So it's good to have a terrible game out there.
It just feels so artificial because, like... Sonic Forces is something I genuinely was interested in and wanted to review. I was curious about it. I really felt compelled to do that review. Yeah. I just didn't like the game very much.
Yeah.
That to me that felt like a very honest process.
Yes.
And you know, I think the thing that I wish we made a little bit clearer, and I don't want it to be an excuse, I think it's a hard balance, is we're not running the same race as everybody else.
No.
We're not trying to be IGN. We're not trying to be GameSpot. And I understand that we're still inadvertently competing with them. But I think there is more value in us taking ownership in what we're covering and how we cover it than we could in a corporate setting. And I think we should be proud of that, and I think we should strengthen that.
Yep.
But let's see the stars go away. You're going to miss the stars.
I'm going to miss the stars no matter what. But I understand and realize that, to reiterate again, because we live in the Metacritic world, the perception of my 3 stars for them is different than it is for me.
And that is the most frustrating thing.
You know?
You can try to, and maybe we just haven't done a very good job of this, but you can try to elaborate on what exactly everything means, but there's a collective conscious.
Nobody reads your review anyway. They're just going to look at it. They're going to go on Metacritic. They're going to scroll down. They're going to see, 5, 6. You know? Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, man. It's just all so confusing. There's no right or wrong answer. It's like, well, removed from it all, Easy Allies by itself, including the allies, the viewers, the patrons, removed from Metacritic and OpenCritic, they can read and watch our reviews and hopefully understand what a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 2 and a 1-star game are without that noise.
But it's like Ben got
but is it possible?
the Kiwami backlash or whatever.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing that is really frustrating is it's like, yes, of course I like JRPGs. Of course that is a genre that I'm interested in. That's why I'm talking about it. But sometimes when people are like, oh, you gave that a high score just because it's a JRPG, it's like, no, you're missing like the really long, detailed, like, this is why I think it's good, this is why I think it's bad analysis. And I do think that assumption can get pretty frustrating, where it's like, I'm totally fine with you tearing this thing down, but you can't tear it down based on an assumption of what you think I do or do not like. Like, take the text that is there that we're providing with you to base an argument on something. That I think is important.
I wish I could have gave Evil Within 2 5 stars.
but you didn't feel like it earned it.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, but I want to give it. I wish I could
have given other games like a better review.
Absolutely.
I hope they were better.
Absolutely.
Like, I was hoping Lost Year would be better than it is, kind of thing.
Persona 5.
Persona 5, I thought was 5 stars.
5 stars, baby. That's a good review. You should watch our review. Everyone.
That's a very good review. Yeah.
That was 5 stars. All right. There has been a lot of JRPG talk on here, but this is one that I do feel passionately about.
Okay.
So bear with us on this.
Well, when you got me and Ben on an episode,
and Huber,
it's
honorary JRPG fan. Yeah. Honorary.
No, you're as legit as they come.
Legit as they come, dude.
Gotta finish Final Fantasy 6.
It's okay, man.
You will.
Yeah.
You will. I believe you.
You'll fill the holes.
All right. Last one comes in from Natai. He says, hi, Ben and panel. This question sprung up from listening to Damiani criticizing Persona 5. An amazing game by all means, but something guilty of dragging its feet. Sometimes guilty of dragging its feet. I think JRPGs tend to use boring or uninspired ways to lengthen the experience, almost obviously so, at the cost of overall quality. For example, in Xenoblade Chronicles X, a lot of times inside the city, you need to walk from one street to another just for the next cutscene to play, even though the game could have taken you there as part of the previous cutscene or didn't even really need to change locations in the first place. I think this trope of JRPGs must be so very long stops the genre from moving forward because it makes developers pad it with rubbish. And really, is a 20 or 50 hour JRPG not long enough? This is something we want to talk about. We've talked about before, but I feel like with a lot of these reviews, I totally agree with this guy. It's like, make an amazing 20-hour game as opposed to a pretty good 50-hour game.
Yes, I agree.
It doesn't, like, you can apply this not only to JRPGs, but other things, but I do agree that JRPGs are especially guilty of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like those quiet moments, though.
Absolutely.
But I really like it. Like Persona and stuff, there's criticism of it dragging, but when I'm just hanging out with not a care in the world with a confidant or something, or it's in between heists, there's that feeling of safety. There's the feeling of freedom of just hanging out. You know, I appreciate the quieter moments in between the big story beats and even something like when Yakuza, you know, these are pretty long games. Even the moments when I'm just like walking around in a back alley or like talking to a few NPCs and they're kind of stringing me along from one person to another. I'm kind of like following the clues. Like, I like that stuff and those moments because then I think of like storming some clan headquarters and like brawling 100 guys. Like that's intense, you know? I like moments.
Yeah.
Gameplay and plot wise when things are calm.
I think that's like different though when this guy was talking about.
Yes,
this guy's like talking about really like weird moments, like going somewhere extra just to lengthen the kind of thing.
Exactly. I don't think it's like, hey, cut out character development, hey, cut out quiet moments, hey, cut out all, not super immediate stuff. Like, not everything has to be immediately story driven. Like in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a lot of the heart to hearts I think are really cute and really worth seeking out. Them performing a play I thought was really funny and not necessary, but a really interesting tidbit that kind of gave an extra spark to those characters. I think those moments are crucial. But in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, does the blade opening really need to be as long and drawn out, especially when you're doing it all the time?
Do you really gotta have the systems where I gotta grind to open a door?
Right. Like it's these things that are constantly present and don't feel like they're adding much at all that really need to be trimmed out. It's not always story stuff. It's not always that it's 100 hours, but sometimes it's like, man, Tales of Dissidia, holy shit, getting into that game and being like, hey, you gotta now run around the world and get all these things.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I could have technically done that earlier,
Wind Waker.
but
like it reminds me of Bravely Default, like just going through everything again. Like this, I'm just like,
I guess
like how many games can you think of where you have that moment where you're like, I don't want to do this, but I have to.
Yeah.
Cut out those moments.
But I guess Love is Blind is because, like, again, dude, Damiani and like I don't understand the moments in Persona 5 that people want to cut out.
I remember. Here, I'll tell you. I remember what Damiani was talking about.
I don't understand what these slow moments are that are boring.
I remember him talking about like when the characters would have a conversation, then they would go home and they'd have the same conversation on their phone again. Like I get that that's like what people do, especially when you're worried. You're like always thinking about it. You're talking with people who are in the same boat as you. But I mean, like I could see where Damiani's coming from. That it didn't really bug me at all, but I could see where he's coming from.
I do feel passionately though, and this was like something. An idea I had a long time ago, that people do too quickly give up on something where they're like, and there's this idea that everything needs to have this amazingly strong start. I don't think that's true. Like we live in the YouTube world, right? And people are always talking about like, you need to do this on YouTube to be successful. And I think it is really dangerous to get into this. Well, it has to be this way to do well or to grab people. I don't think that's true. Like Celeste is a good example where the way that it presented itself at first, if I had just stopped there, my idea of it would have been completely different. Then I finished it, and it wrapped back around and made that beginning way more interesting. And that, believe it or not, has happened to me with JRPGs, where in the moment, I'm like, this kind of sucks, this is kind of boring, this is a slog to get through. But because of how the story progresses and how they expand upon it, it becomes more meaningful over time. I think that is a totally valid way to tell a story. And just because you're not interested in hour one doesn't mean that the whole game is garbage and you just need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, correct. I mean, at the same time, though, it's like, if you're not enjoying it, you don't need to play it.
Right, but... And I think that's fine.
Yeah,
if you're not enjoying it and you don't want to play it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to get on this pedestal and say, like, well, it is bad and therefore all JRPGs are bad and they can never tell stories like this. It's like taking that one experience and making it way bigger than that experience should be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just felt like every palace was meaningful and all the confidants were meaningful. And
boy, there was some confidants I didn't like.
Like, but you can choose which ones.
You can.
So, like, I just don't get it. If every main act in the game has a purpose.
So you're telling me that you're in love?
I'm saying I wouldn't cut a single second of Persona 5. Straight up. Zero cuts.
Send the katana over with a note. No cuts.
No cuts.
That is going to do it for this episode of Frame Trap. Thank you guys for your impassioned discussion. If you'd like to send an email in, please email askeasyallies@gmail.com. You should do it to the front, too. I don't know if many people always get to this point. But askeasyallies@gmail.com is the email address. Once again, if you want to find more of us, go to patreon.com/easyallies. We've got a lot of cool things going on there. Thank you to the sponsors who support this show. Very appreciated. Thank you to Bradley Ellis and Michael Huber for spending 3 hours shooting the breeze with me.
3 hour frame trap.
What's up?
3 hour frame trap.
3 hour frame trap.
Oh,
Got
my God. Jeez.
3-hour frame trap. Did it feel like 3 hours?
No.
Time flew by.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. We'll see you next time.